This deck should not be this powerful while being this fun to play and brew. We got Smo saying, if my partner don't love me, how this man loves Tiamat. I don't want him. It unlocks a new combo that I haven't heard anybody say with the Morite plus Meringue plus Tiamat combo with Dracogenesis. Why is this important? There you go. That's why I run Galazeth Prismari. What's up, y'all? It's TTC, aka the Thunder Conductor, and welcome back to another YouTube video and Twitch stream. If you're on YouTube, make sure you like the video and subscribe. And if you're on Twitch, make sure you follow and ring the bell. But with that being said, let's get straight into the deck tech. We're now talking about the big boy. We talking about the one, the only Tiamat. Tiamat came after Scion, but was really taken much more seriously than Scion. And it got heavy influences from the revamp of Scion, but truthfully, it has been one of the most enjoyable decks I've ever played since I first started playing cEDH, and I loved playing Reanimator Fire Dancer. And then when I talked earlier in the other deck tech about my love for Saya, Aether Flux, Genius, and Jeskai, I kept upping the colors until I made it to 5 color, and Tiamat was like, that was my shit. While other people were playing Esika and Sisay and Kenrith, I saw something with this 5 color dragon for 7 mana and was like, I think there's something here. Notably, after getting the powerful and cannot be looked past Dracogenesis. Notably, if you're not familiar, Dracogenesis is an 8 mana enchantment for 6 colors and 2 red that says you can cast dragon spells without paying their mana cost. So some genius out there, and it wasn't originally me, it was some cat out there by the name of Veggie Wagon, and I give him full flowers, and I hope he sees this video because I want him to know that every Tiamat view I've gotten was because he made a small short, minute and a half, talking about all the crazy things you can do with Tiamat. And I had to pause for a second as a cEDH player and said, hey, I know I'm not supposed to do this. I know I'm not supposed to take energy and time into 7 mana commander, 8 mana enchantment, but something in my mono red / Jeskai gut tells me there's something real here. And so at first, shout out to him, Bissy Baxon was the first one to really make a list in our community about a year or 2 ago. And then after that, I was like, y'all, pause the fucking second, man. Because I made my list after that and I just ran with it. And when everybody else kind of let the deck go, I was like, no, guys, this is real. We're going to make it work. And from everything from playtest and breach and letting that go, from playtesting food chain and letting that go, to playtesting so many cards and letting so many things go. After a year of hiatus from a deck tech, we are here to talk about Tiamat. All right. So with that being said, Tiamat is a Wooburg dragon for 2 colors and Wooburg. All right. Dragon God. Say it again. Dragon God. All right. Flying. When Tiamat enters, if you cast it, I wish we could just ETB it, but if you cast it, search your library for up to 5 dragon cards not named Tiamat that each have different names, reveal them, put them into your hand, and then shuffle your library. And it is a 7/7 itself. That will come in handy because 3 hits in commander equals commander damage. We knocking them out of here, bro. All right, with that being said, if y'all can tell, I have so much more energy because I love Scion. It's such a great deck, but Tiamat brings me life, and I can explain to you all why, but I think y'all more want to see the deck tech than hear about why I love Tiamat. But actually, no, I will pause a second and tell you all why Tiamat. Why now more than ever is not just because of a year since the last Tiamat deck tech. It's also been because, honestly, this started off as just a dragon, a good stuff brew to a dragon heavy brew to a monster that I never thought would be this viable in cEDH. I never thought a 7 mana commander that costs Wooburg. I know Atali does it with 7 mana, but Wooburg casting from the command zone, and most games I don't even need to cast it because we have cards like Dragonstorm and Tomb Reanimate with Hoarding Brute and Thassa's Oracle and stuff. There's some games where I don't even need to cast Tiamat, but you talk about a commander that aligns with me and really just sits with me well in my soul. It is well with my soul. We're talking about Tiamat, all right? But before we get the breakdown and the identity and all that other good stuff down, I got to give another shout out to the Thunder Conductor Community Discord. From our TC Tech Guard to our TC Vanguards, our leadership team, to each of our brewers who make that community feel like home. If you're looking for a place to both brew your Meta Buster deck and also test that Meta Buster deck in our TC Slayer system, which we give out monthly prizes for those who are able to take the crown off moi by either holding the title for the longest and getting that Iron Man title or the King of the Hill title by holding the title at the end of the month. Come get some prizes, enjoy testing your decks, get some incentives in that way, and just have a good time with this. But if you just want to join the community just to lurk, also come on y'all. We have great conversations, awesome chats, and if you're ever looking for a community that has space to hear you out before judging you, that's what the TC community is. Built around the values of accountability, curiosity, mutual respect, teachability, and the growth mindset. That is what we are about in the TC community Discord. So if you're looking for a free place to get all the perks of just being able to connect with me daily, check out the TC Discord and meet all the amazing pilots that I call my friends. But let's get back to it. All right. Before I get into this, we got Smo saying, Tiamat time, baby. Yes, yes, yes. We got SSO, fire emoji. Sign is good. Don't get me wrong, but Tiamat is just the GOAT. That's all I'm saying, bro. Come on. Let's get into the meat, y'all, because we gonna be talking and having a good time. Notably, Tiamat is a 5-color turbo reanimator brew. All right. That also gets notably inspirations from the legacy and vintage deck of Show and Tell or Omnitel, where we use cards like Show and Tell and Treasons or to cheat out our huge spells as well as reanimator effects with Burnt Offering to get those things out. Notably, once again, why Reanimator? We have Food Chain, we have Breach, we have all these other strategies that we could be running. But notably, the biggest thing is that Reanimator helps with our mana cheating and winning at instant speed. Just like we brought up in the Sign deck tech, there's a lot of instant speed lines to this deck. There's a lot of combo variations. And we, truthfully, if you felt like you enjoyed the Sign deck tech, you ain't seen nothing yet. All right. Notably, another thing that I love about Tiamat is that you win with and without the commander. It's actually been funny when people see the gameplay. They're like, dude, do you just use Tiamat for 5-color? Like, why do you even play it if you're not going to cast a commander? And that comes to, once again, what I call my play style being the Thunderstorm style. I do not find it helpful to be predictable because my win rate goes down when you know what I'm going to do. If every game I'm going for Dracogenesis, what are you going to do? Dranith Magistrate, Opposition Agent, all the other stuff. Yes, some pilots don't want to run Thassus. Some pilots don't want to run Dualcaster Mage Saw in Half. Some pilots don't want to run Dragons from all these other things to get around Dranith and all those other things. But every piece in this list, please trust me when I say it is one of the most intentionally built lists that I've ever built that is able to be turbo consistent and present wins consistently from turn 2 to 3, sometimes turn 1, sometimes a little bit slower in turn 4 to 5. But we are trying to push consistently from turn 2 to 3. But if we see from our skill level, our prowess, that is better to push in the mid to late game, we also can pivot immediately from the mulligan or from turn 1 to 2 on our early tiers into a mid-range deck and play a little bit of control role until we turn the corner and win the game. Once again, if you've been here from the TC clips, you've seen me do it and dominate in the mid game as well. This deck is great in the early game, mid game, late game, honestly, and it brings me back to the old saying that I said back in the day, which was turbo consistency with mid-range adaptability and late-game inevitability. While I'll give the inevitability crown to Scion, Tiamat was the first to wear it. This queen was the first to wear it because ultimately, though it doesn't say it, we are a mana outlet deck where if we have enough mana, we can just win the game. All right. So with that being said, if you're looking for any reason to play Tiamat after all that spiel, okay, if you love Turbo, if you are interested in exploring Reanimator and cEDH and TDH, which honestly I think is truly the most slept on strategy in cEDH and TDH, if you just love dragons or you want most games to feel like a different experience to winning the game, even though the finishing state is just usually Thassa's Final Fortune with infinite creatures or OBM pings, the finishers are the same as good stuff, but the journey there is so unique each game. It's such a fun thing. It is a bit of a puzzle each game, but if you enjoy those kind of puzzles and you wanted something else other than 5-color good stuff, then this is definitely what you're looking for. With that said, we've done deck techs in the past for Tiamat. So instead of going through our tags, and hitting each of the sections, we're instead going to be touching on more of our comparisons since our last deck tech. Notably, we have 19 card differences from our current Tiamat to our past Tiamat in our last deck tech. It's been a lot of changes, a lot of strong reasons why. So lock in, sit tight, and let's get into it. But before we do, let's check out the chat. We got, first thing, we got Smol saying, now that it's Tiamat time, please touch on why you use Galazeth Prismari. All right. We gonna get to drought. How about this, Smo? We gonna get to Galazeth Prismari because I want to tell you right now, but just come on a journey with me real quick. Let me just come on a journey, and when we get to the end of the journey, it's gonna make sense. Trust me. Take my hand. Just go with me, brother. Just follow me. Just follow me. All right. So the beginning of everything was we took Plateau out. All right. I personally wanted all of my Wooburg lands to be able to find all of my fetch lands to be able to be Wooburg lands technically. But I kind of got tired of seeing Plateau. I know if you look at our color spread right here at the bottom, we're very much, it's surprising. I know we're a 5-color deck, but we are pretty much a Grixis deck with a splash of white and green. So I'm not running Savannah, I'm not running Plateau, and I am not running Taiga. All right. That means that 2 of my fetch lands, notably being Windswept Heath and our Arid Mesa, are only 4-color lands, but that's okay because they get the colors that matter most: blue, black, and red. Okay. That was intentional as well as our brewing, but just to understand why I'm okay running 4-color fetch lands in a 5-color deck. All right. As we continue to evolve, we did want to add Noxious Revival into this list. It's great for all the reasons of being able to grab fetch lands. We are on 26 lands now. Being able to grab a fetch land back from the graveyard. We added a fetch land with Arid Mesa, so just all these good reasons. Not to mention, we also love, with Hoarding Brute there's pieces that need to be in our deck, or with Dragonstorm, there's pieces that need to be in our deck, or even with Tiamat, we want sometimes things to be in our deck. So whether it's putting an interaction piece back on top of our library, or reusing a tutor, or whatever not, or reusing a piece of ramp like a Lotus Petal, or whatever not. That's Noxious Revival is a Swiss Army knife. Not to mention, we do run Necropotence, so being able to offer, you can't refuse, a Noxious Revival is super powerful as well. All the reasons that we list in the Sign Discord plus more, Noxious Revival is great. We did notably though take out Boseiju who endures. Not because it's bad. We all know this is objectively good, but similar to the Scion, I am okay with my opponents having pieces. Shout out to the level up logs that are released in the past for the Thunder Legion Patreon. And notably, we talked about the mistake many people make is trying to remove stacks and then win versus just trying to win through stacks. And ultimately, we'll touch on that. There's only one stacks piece that really gets in our way, and we'll get to that in a second. If you've seen the primer, you've seen it, but really, Boseiju doesn't hit that. So ultimately, even though it's a great piece at stopping people, we're more worried about winning the game. Okay. Now that doesn't mean we don't have interaction. We still have 13 pieces of on stack interaction, technically 14 pieces, including Singing the Stupor, but it is just straight up. That's just is what it is. We took Boseiju out because we wanted to lower our land count, and Noxious Revival is an awesome utility piece. I remember at the time when I took it out, it was because Hoarding Brute Lord. Okay. Now these are old changes. We're still talking about like August, September of last year. So let's keep shredding through. Notably, we took Otawara out for Gemstone Mine. I'm currently, this is a little bit more of a modern change, but I'm putting it with the lands. I'm currently testing a hypothesis that whether you want to run Singing the Stupor or Otawara, it's ultimately up to you. I wanted to keep my blue count up, so I'm running Singing the Stupor, plus I'm on Galazeth Prismari. I'm going to tease you all by bringing it up and not talking about why I'm running it. But Galazeth Prismari lets our artifacts cast instants and sorceries, so also helps cast Singing the Stupor, where Otawara is usually a 4-mana removal spell. So that's why I'm running Sync blue count. It also is a great anti-Hexing Squelcher tech. Hits the board, hits the stack, is really, really good. But but you are not wrong for running Otawara, okay? I'm just running Singing the Stupor right now. But the reason I'm running Gemstone Mine over running both Otawara and Singing the Stupor is notably because I'm running a hypothesis that color fixing in 5-color is even more important than removal and having some of the best utility lands. And thus far, I haven't felt bad about that decision. And it's like I haven't been missing having the extra solid blue land. And that's kind of also going back to our discussion on Pinnacle Monk, kind of why I don't run both Dualcaster Mage and Pinnacle Monk. It's really because of that the single color lands rip, and the more mid-range you are, you don't care as much. But if you're trying to win consistently on turn 2 to 3, those one color lands can really hurt things, especially in Tiamat, where we often will go like turn 1 need a black mana, turn 2 need a blue mana, turn 3 win with a red mana. We need that flexibility in the early game, and Gemstone Mine provides that. With that being said, next we did enter into the good stuff realm, where we started talking to amazing pilots like Bissy Baxen and Caleb Dragonborn, the pod variant owner of the Tiamat pod variant, where him and Bissy, and it was another pilot, I think it was D-Trove as well, and Azzy. A lot of really good pilots were like, dude, you got to fuck with Lotho, you got to puff with Smothering Tithe. And I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck about those cards. But over time, when I was trying to evolve from just being a turbo deck and being a turbo consistent mid-range adaptive deck, I didn't just cave. I adapted and understood more where they were coming from, and then just go with what they said. I made it serve what I was looking for, which I wanted to have more mid-range adaptability to what I was doing. So what we did was went ahead and like, boom, I'm going to take out the Fell the Profane, went down another land, dropped down to 28, down to 26 at this point for the Smothering Tithe, and we took out Ignoble Hierarch for the Lotho Corrupt Sheriff. Lotho being able to help us get that 4 to 5 mana by turn 3 is really good. Smothering Tithe just being a ticking time bomb for us eventually just winning the game is just really good. You can mold for a Smothering Tithe on turn 1 and 2 and just be patient. Eventually you'll get enough treasures just to hardcast Tiamat and win the game. Will you need some control pieces and to be political to get there? Yes. It's not just auto win because it takes time, but it has been an all-star in just, especially in those late seat 4 positions where it's like, damn, I just need a mulligan anchor to help me get there. Smothering Tithe is one of those really powerful mulligan anchors because we technically do have a mana outlet in the command zone. So there's just that. As we continue to evolve though as a player, one of the big things is I took the One Ring out to add Necropotence in. Similar to what like we brought up in our Scion deck tech, I have 5 ways to win at instant speed, notably Born Upon the Wind and Final Fortune. No Valley Floodcaller because we can't cast our dragons with Valley Floodcaller, but we have the Born and the Final Fortune, as well as a Shallow Grave and a Necromancy to do instant speed Hoarding Brute Lord or Thassa's Oracle lines. And last but not least, I do count Invoke Calamity as a way to win at instant speed. If you look at our sorcery package, there are combinations of cards that allow us to convert into winning. Notably, Invoke Calamity being able to cast these 7 spells at instant speed, though for a pricey bit, or to cast any of our instant sorceries from our graveyard. If you're not familiar, colorless for red, you may cast up to 2 instants or sorcery spells, total mana value 6 or less from the graveyard and or hand without paying their mana costs. If those spells be put into the graveyard, exile them instead, blah, 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 blah. So basically, this is a way to really do some really just nasty shenanigans. And so this is more of a mid-range type of necro pile. So like say if it's turn 3 to 5, we already got our mana and we just want to convert, then this is not the best turn 1 to 2, sometimes not even turn 3. Yeah, turn 1 to 3, not the best turbo way to win at instant speed, but it is an option, especially in those hands where you get a bunch of mana, some sorcery speed tutors, but nothing really to do with it. But you're just like, damn, if I had a way to cast these sorcery spells, I'd be in there. But like, I'm not on Valley Floodcaller, but there you go. Invoke Calamity helps solve that. With that being said, like on the journey of powering up Tiamat even more, Necropotence was just a juggernaut. From getting a turn 1 to 2 Necro out and winning on turn 2 to 3, it is by far one of the most powerful things you can be doing in this list. It is one of our turbo 1 card anchors alongside Dream Halls, and it is by far just broken. It's a broken card. We all know that. It is notably harder to convert this than in Scion because we just do have higher CMC spells. But when you have cards like Show and Tell that can help bypass the high CMC of stuff like Dream Halls or Dracogenesis or Hoarding Brute Lord, it's just great. But with that being said, we'll get into Show and Tell in a little bit. The next change just came from a set release. Notably, we took Untimely Malfunction out for Redirect Lightning when the Avatar set came out. Though we are on Treasonous Ogre and Necropotence, after a lot of testing, I ultimately found that the 5 life was not the end of the world, but the 2 mana versus 1 mana was. There were many, many times where Untimely Malfunction would have just been off, but redirect lightning would be on. And especially because we have a 7 mana commander, so deflecting swat is a less viable strategy or card to be used. It's just to the point where it's just clockwork. People know if I'm playing Tiamat, hey guys, he has an extra 2 to a Hoarding Blue Lord, he's going to redirect lightning. Does someone have something to stop it? If not, your Boseiju or Otawara means nothing, you know? Especially when it comes to protecting our Dracogenesis, stopping channel effects from other things, stopping, like there was a time where there was this Stone Enoch or Eric or some junk like this where a player was trying to target my graveyard to exile it, and I just went like, I'm just gonna target that target ability and redirect lightning it. And it was just one of those ultimate things where it's just like, what the, like, it's such a flexible spell. It like the 5 life ultimately means nothing. Even if I'm pushing a Treasonous Ogre hand on like turn 2 to turn 3, I would still feel comfortable using a redirect lightning for 8 life total for like 3 for 1 red and plus 5 life and push it out in that fashion. I just do, because it's broken. Straight up, it is. I do still love Untimely Malfunction. I do love that it can destroy an artifact as well. I do love that it can make 1 or 2 creatures unblockable, but the 2 mana ultimately just got power crept by redirect lightning, period. Big notable thing to bring up about both of these spells though is they're not as good as deflecting swat, because if someone casts a Mind Break Trap, notably, it can't target the Mind Break Trap because it has multiple spells, multiple targets. Anything with multiple targets, redirect lightning and Untimely Malfunction just can't target it. But with that being said though, it hits so many things. It makes up for it for the fact that it can hit channel effects. Not to mention, an additional note that I'll just add on is just be wary when you are doing Necropotence or you are doing Treasonous Ogre. Just be aware that you want to just count your life before you do stuff. Or with Necropotence, go down to 6 life instead of 5 when you're doing Necropotence, so you have redirect lightning as an option. You lose 1 card, but you gain a potential interaction piece. As we keep going, the last piece before we hit more of our modern era Tiamat switch outs was the last one was Morite of the Frost in, and then we took Miram Sentinel Worm out. This was a discussion. It was a big discussion I had maybe 6-8 months ago with another Tiamat pilot or someone who was interested in playing Tiamat, but ultimately preferred the Mardu Love. But through that discussion, I was both able to kind of like get them up to speed on current things we're doing, the Reanimator Tiamat brew. But at the same time, they brought up really amazing points. And one of those amazing points was Morite, and how Morite plus Meringue plus Dracogenesis is the same combo as Miram plus Meringue plus Dracogenesis, but you don't get the sensory overload that comes with Miram Sentinel Worm, where like all those copy dragons is great. Oh, I make infinite creature tokens. Like, it's cool. It's cool. If you want flashy points, Miram wins. But if you just want cleanness, whether it be winning with Bladewing or winning with Meringue, Morite's just simpler. Just bounce everything on board, loop whatever you want to loop, whether dragons you want to loop, whether it's Hoarding Blue Lord or any other things, and just get the job done. Especially if you play tournaments, you do not want to have to overthink after a super long game and possibly fuck up your win line combo. That sensory overload from Miram is real. So just be aware of that. Not to mention another really big reason for Morite over Miram, in addition that its combo viability held, is you can copy your own permanents, and it has more just general value. It being cheaper, but being able to copy our Tithe is a very common play pattern we do. While I'll have Tithe on board and I'll copy my Tithe. Having double Tithe halves the amount of time it takes to be able to convert into a Tiamat hardcast dragon win. Not to mention you can copy your own Rhystic Study, copy your own Mana Rocks, copy your own Fish if you want to. Like, it's usually just a copy of Tithe kind of thing, but it just has a lot of utility and I like it a lot. Just be aware of that legendary clause when you're doing stuff. It's come to almost bite me to tell a few times, but that's the halfway point. Thank you all. Y'all been great so far. I'm gonna give a second to give a shout out to the community and let's answer some questions. Let's see. We got Smol saying, if my partner don't love me, how this man loves Tiamat. I don't want him. You can hear it in my voice, bro. Like, that's why I started on Scion, because I'm like, I really like this deck. It's objectively just a broken deck. I on paper and in practice, there's nothing you can tell me that Scion is not a broken deck. But if you just sit down with me, I'm about to talk hours about this Tiamat list, and just trust me, it gets better. If you think this is good, we're not even close. We got S saying, ha 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 ha. Ooh, we have Smo saying, would you ever run Omni Changeling over Morite? Or we have Smo saying, or both. So the or both question is, right now slots are a bit tight. There was an opportunity for me to maybe run both, but I'll get into that. That's more in the Galazeth Prismari conversation. But when it comes to would you ever run Omni Changeling over Morite, for those who are not familiar, Omni Changeling is a mono blue clone that has Convoke and Changeling, so it's technically a dragon, and it can enter in the copy as any creature on the battlefield. We're actually about to talk about this, but I'll just give a quick little sneak peek. The reason I prefer Morite over Omni Changeling is because it's green, meaning that we can find it with our Summoner's Pact, and notably because Morite is blue and green, that means we can Summoner's Pact with a Force of Will or a Misdirection in our hand and pitch the Morite to it, which is actually a common play pattern that I do. Or I'll Summoner's Pact for a Morite to copy my Tithe on board, or I'll Summoner's Pact. Like, it's just a lot of options. You know what I'm saying? The fact that Omni Changeling is only blue means we can't do that tech. But for pilots who don't run Summoner's Pact, I definitely would say if I had to choose between the two, I can hear hard arguments for Omni Changeling over Morite, or both, but especially for the pod variant where you're running more creatures, Omni Changeling is a slam dunk. Not to mention because you can help Convoke cast it and copy any creature on the battlefield, which is ridiculously powerful, has really great mid-range utility there. And the reason I would say still run both is because having double clones means you have exile insurance in case you lose your Morite or your Omni Changeling. So now you can pitch your Morite or Omni Changeling to your Force of Will or Misdirection or Force Negation, and then still have the other one to be able to combo off with Moraine River Regent plus Dracogenesis. So yeah, 100%. There's arguments to run both, maybe not in the Reanimator variant or my version of the Reanimator variant, but in the pod variant, I could definitely see arguments for running one or both. I definitely understand, though, why Caleb Dragonborn, the originator of the pod variants of Tiamat, runs Omni Changeling, because I don't believe he's on Summoner's Pact, so he's not even on that tech. He's not even on Misdirection, and because of his larger creature count, the Convoke just makes more sense. Oh, not to mention, he also plays more tournament games, and so the average card quality of his opponents are just through the roof. We have to keep that in mind as well. I play in both spheres, in both tournament prep games and actual, like just cEDH games with the Wild West, where you can see a lot of things. So the card quality can fluctuate between these different metas that I play in, whether it be my LGS, in the TC Discord, and other competitive Discords. So depending on whether I'm doing a tournament prep game, kind of helping people train for their tournaments, or coaching people, or giving level up sessions, it varies a lot. So I find building off my own decks is just a more consistent strategy for me. We have Sal saying, do you miss Abolisher in this list? I'm afraid of some activated abilities, but the double white mana is a huge stone. Yes, I don't miss Abolisher at all. Is it great? Yes, it is technically the best silence effect in our format, especially when paired with Cavern of Souls or Hexing Squelcher to make it uncounterable. For me, though, the color fixing sucked a lot, and it was one of the first cards to get removed from the list, because I used to run, my package was like Voice, Ranger, Grand Abolisher. Quickly, Ranger, Captain of Eos, and Grand Abolisher was kicked from the list. Not because they're not powerful, but they're just expensive, man. They're just expensive. Color pip wise, and white colorless is way easier than white, and so that's my lived experience with Grand Abolisher. Awesome stellar card, but just can't do it, couldn't do it anymore. Consistency issues, especially in the early game, was definitely the problem that I experienced. Let's keep going though. Speaking of Hexing Squelcher, all right, notably we took out Animate Dead out of our list. So we went down to 3 reanimation effects and 3 entomb effects instead of the 4 reanimation effects. And we added in first Defense Grid, but then we moved on to a Hexing Squelcher, okay? Defense Grid was great. It did everything it needed to do, But I find, especially when people playing Vexing Bauble, Lavinia, Azorius Renegade, and other things that cuck us and stop us from free casting or not paying mana for things, whether it be our Force Wheels, Misdirections, Dracogenesis is the big one, Dream Halls, all the other things, Noxious Revivals, Mint Step, all the things, being able to say, I don't care, allows me to do the methodology that I brought before, which is I want you to win through your stacks pieces. I don't want to have to remove them. And Hexing Squelcher, alongside of Veil of Summer, allows me to have light silence effects that supports winning at instant speed, not just on my turn, but at instant speed where usually the Voice of Victory, Jennifer Walters, or Dragonlord Jamocha wouldn't really be the best choice. So that's just the big thing when it comes to the Hexing Squelcher over Defense Grid. Defense Grid is great, but Hexing Squelcher is just phenomenal. I will say though, I seldomly ever tutor for it because I more just prefer my playstyle, prefer silence effects. But whenever it comes up as a light silence effect, especially for instant speed wins, it's stellar. So just I'm still feeling it out, even though it's been in my list for over 6 months. There'll be times where I miss Defense Grid, and I would love if a line tutor could find a type of soft silence effect. But the fact that the Hexing Squelcher is uncounterable itself, as well as it just makes everything I do counterable, it gives even a little bit of a ward, so anti-OBM tech there. It just feels, it's still on paper as a stronger card. And so that's why Defense Grid still sits in my sideboard. Next, we have the switch out of the aforementioned Phyrexian Metamorph, a card that I swore to that I would never cut because of how powerful and flexible it is, especially in a Reanimator strategy with cards like Lively Dirge and all the other shenanigans. Double Esper, double OBM, all that other stuff was really cool. But I had to let it go because this is where the story shifts. This is where the story changes. And this is where I first want to reference the tech of a concept called self-reflective brewing. It is a concept that I name it that, but other people already do it. Many pilots do it, but it's a concept of comparing your own brews to themselves instead of comparing your own brews to other brews. You know, how many times do we go on Moxfield and just use the compare feature on our list versus another brew to kind of see if there's anything we're missing, anything that we could do better, anything that maybe we are doing better and we just needed the reassurance. All that's great. However, when it comes to building to your own personal profile and your own identity as a player, self-reflective brewing was something that I started to use way more than peer reflective brewing. Though it can be argued to go hand in hand, and there is the three of meta reflective brewing, brew to your meta, peer reflective brewing, brew to what your peers are brewing and from advice from your peers. But that third leg, which I feel like many pilots miss out on, is self-reflective brewing. And it's a concept that, once again, I talked very deeply on a Level Up blog. So if you're interested in the full breakdown of self-reflective brewing and the application I did between Sign of the Earth Dragon and my Tiamat list, all these changes I'm about to mention forward come from those Level Up blogs. And I'm going to touch on the high level things, but if you want the deep dives of the changes and why I made them, definitely check out the Patreon with the Thunder Legion Patreon, where I talk about all the details of how self-reflective brewing took my Tiamat list to the next level. With that being said, we took Phyrexian Metamorph out for Summoner's Pact, and Summoner's Pact was inspired from Scion, from everything from being able to, we'll actually check this out very quickly. We have a lot of really notable targets. I do Summoner's Pact for Dragonlord Jamocha and Hardcast Dragonlord Jamocha. I've done that many times. Of course, we have the Summoner's Pact for the Elvish Spirit Guide and Tinderwall, but the big one is being able to Summoner's Pact for Morite, whether it's cloning our Tithe, pitching to a Force of Will or Misdirection, or whatever not that we may want to do. There's so many options. Not to mention, it's a zero cost spell that we can hold priority and offer. You can't refuse it. Being able to up the count of spells that we can counter with our own offer is broken, and it's just truthfully is bonkers. Truthfully, it's just bonkers. Yes, there is the I died to a pact. I'm gonna be honest. If you play well enough, you won't die to it. Okay, that's all I'll say. I've been very blessed and fortunate that I've never died to my Summoner's Pact trigger. Just haven't died to it. Knock on wood, but at the same time, part of it is luck. I will acknowledge that. But also most of it is just, I'm not going to commit to a hand with a Summoner's Pact that is not in my favor. but there will eventually be a time, there's a potential that I get blown out. There's a lot of turn 1 to turn 2 hands with show and tell, which we'll talk about in a second, to be able to push out a Dream Halls or a Dracogenesis or a Hoarding Brute Lord on turn 1 to 2 that Summoner's Pact enables. But if you get blown out on that show and tell, now you die your Summoner's Pact. You know what I'm saying? Now that hasn't come up in actual game yet, but that is a risk that if you don't have the risk tolerance willing to go all in and turn 1 to 2, especially in those turbo mirror matches where you're playing against Atali, Ral, Roxai, then it's not the best card for you, but you will be losing, notably, a very, very powerful turbo enabler for this list and mid-range sustainability and consistency engine for your Tiamat cEDH or TEDH list. With that being said, I kept pushing my list forward. And as we go through this journey, it's going to get a little more storytelling. I kept going down this journey, and Summoner's Pact opened my eyes to how easily I could make 3 mana on turn 1 to 2. And I was like, man, I'm going to try show and tell out again because I just want a little bit more explosiveness, man. I know it's going to up my synergy card count, but it's just something about being able to use show and tell, post Necropotence. If I can't use my Treasonous Ogre, I can still show and tell out Dracogenesis on my Final Fortune turn, or I instant speed with Born Upon the Wind. I also can do stuff like, man, I can do stuff like show and tell on turn 1 to 2. I have gameplay out there where I was actually willed into show and tell plus Dracogenesis and was able to win with that combo. It was fucking crazy. And I was just like, man, I'm just going to try it. And I tried it and I tried it. And though it hasn't come up a crazy amount of times, because just like I said, the games are so varying. There'll be times where show and tell is a terrible option against like the Gyruda or Aang matchups where they have clones in hand and they can start their combo at instant speed. But on the flip side, if you're going against like Roxai or like Blue Farm, show and tell all the fuck you want. There's very seldomly that they'll have a land, artifact, enchantment, or creature that's going to stop you from winning right there in that exact moment. Certain Stax decks will be able to stop you, and there'll be certain metas where you may not want to run this card. But for me, show and tell over Fellwar Stone has been a slam dunk from my experience. For those people, though, who don't want to run show and tell because their risk tolerance doesn't allow it or their meta doesn't allow it, show and tell, you can have medium flexibility. If you want to take it out, you can definitely add in Time Twister, because we do have a 21 treasure win the game, where if you cast a Time Twister with Smothering Tithe, there's not a combination of cards that can go to your hand or in your library where you're not able to just cast Tiamat for 7, cast Dragonlord Dromeco for 6, and Hoarding Brute Lord for 8 for a protected deterministic win line where you go Saw in Half, the Burnt Offering, and go either Dracogenesis or Invoke Calamity for the win. But there's just very simple. If you don't like show and tell, there's an option being Time Twister. But we keep going. The list is progressing. I'm looking to increase certainty. I'm looking to increase consistency. And the next that was on the chopping block that came from more self-reflective brewing was Days. I notably took Days originally out of my sign list for Disrupting Shoal. And then I wanted to put Disrupting Shoal on this list, but I decided not to, not because my blue count wasn't high enough, but my spread, if you listen, my spread of blue cards were a little too high. If you look at my Tiamat list, in addition to running pieces like Dream Halls and Moraine Reven Region and Morite, my spread of blue cards are pretty high, where I have like this 4-drop, but then I got like a 5-drop, a 6-drop. Yeah, I got some lower stuff with 2 drops, but just a lot of high CMC cards that make Disrupting Shoal less good. Less consistent in this deck. So I decided instead to go with Misdirection in this list. Yes, there will be spells that it just doesn't stop. It doesn't stop everything, but as a protection spell, it is phenomenal. I did think about Mindbreak Trap for a little bit of time, but I will say that Mindbreak Trap needing 3 spells is really tough when we're not Roxai and we can't chain enough spells on our own turn to cause our to turn our own Mindbreak Trap on from fighting with our opponents with like our Flare duplications, Deflecting Swat, and Fierce Guardianships and stuff like that. So Misdirection being in this list was a slam dunk over the Days, and also just similar to what happened with Miram Sentinel Worm, not having to worry about having an island on board for Days was just awesome. I'm just gonna say, I just love not having to think about turn 1 to turn 2. Hold on, I don't have a Days in hand, but I may draw it in the first 2 turns when I'm pushing for this turn 2 win, and I may need to make sure I have an island. But it's just extra thinking. I don't want to have to think about it. Do I have extra blue card in hand? Cool. Misdirection's on. Simple. But more self-reflective brewing with Sign versus Tiamat, something I actually do all the time, is where this came from. Now, the next changes are big changes, okay? This is where the story starts to evolve a lot, all right? But before we get into that, let's check the chat for some questions. Yes, okay, we got to get back to the story, guys, because Smole has said some real stuff. Miram, Terror, and Bladewing being cuts hurts me on a psychological level. I hear you. I really do hear you. I'm not going to look past you. I'm not going to kind of skirt over it. No big deal. I hear you. All right. What I'm going to say is that we've already talked about Morite versus Miram. Okay. The psychological overload that comes from Miram, the more, especially if you do TDH, is real. Morite being more flexible is just, I think it's objectively better for my version of Tiamat, but there's some pilots out there or decks that Miram may be better. I will say, ultimately, I think it's more of a flashy spell for more bracket 4 down and bracket 5 in some places, but when you're trying to clean up a game, keeping track of Miram triggers as you're storming off is just, it's a lot. You know what I'm saying? And Morite just being clean and simple was the biggest ultimate decision. Culling Tithe and all that other stuff is powerful. Mental load when I'm trying to clean up a game and I'm having to say Miram trigger here, do this, Hoarding Brute Lord trigger, Terror Tree Spear trigger, and just like it just gets to be in a lot. I'm about to go infinite. I don't need 50 triggers to win. I'm about to go infinite. Can I just say I'm going infinite? But some players can say no, please play out your combo. And if I misplace some triggers and stuff, then it won't work. Notably big thing and a big example is if I have Dracogenesis on board here and I have a Miram and a Meringue in my hand, I have to cast Miram first before I go into Meringue. Versus with Morite, I can cast Morite or Meringue first to start the Morite plus Meringue plus Dracogenesis loop. That simple sequencing thing, the same with Miram plus Bladewing, really is like huge reasons why Morite also felt better because for Bladewing, you got to go Bladewing then Morite. But not only is it sensory, or I know that's not the right word, but it's not overwhelming you mentally, but it also puts you in the position to be like, yo, I can just clean up this game. Morite plus Meringue, clean, good, I win. All right, cool. I digress. Let's keep going. We go through the story, and this is where the story really thickens up. Going to go more storytelling mode. I was playing Tiamat, and I was winning a lot, but I started to dip in win rate. And I went from a 60% win rate to a 57% win rate. 57, 58. And I know that's good to many people, but you have to imagine playing hundreds of games and holding at 60% for so long and to dip. Imagine the number of games percentage wise that I had to lose to dip to 57 to 58% win percentage. And that bothered me because I wasn't losing because of me. I wasn't making user errors. It was just sometimes I will mulligan super deep because it was appropriate. I'm an aggressive mulliganer, and I would get terrible top decks or my mulligans would look trash because the card quality, especially when you compare it to Sign, was so much lower. And the list felt complete. I didn't have to make any changes. This could have just been a fun LobbyCon CEDH list and just said, nah, just cool. And the Sign could be my TDH list. Tiamat could be my CEDH and LobbyCon fun list. But something to me was like, no, fuck that shit, man. Like, I know Tiamat is real. If I wanted to, I know I can take Tiamat to a tournament and win with it. Not just because I love it, but I know how good this deck is, objectively speaking. Yes, Sign is better on paper, but I know that I can take this deck far. I need to push this list farther, okay? I was losing a lot, not to my own skill level. I know I'm a great player. I was losing to ridiculous deck flips. And it would be times where I would I would be on a mode 3 and I'd hit Dragonstorm, I'd hit Bladewing the Risen, I hit these like fucking behemoth dream halls when I didn't have the means, and I was just like, fuck, man, this is not working. The first thing I did was I said, okay, I'm gonna take Bladewing the Risen out and I'm gonna put Pinnacle Monk in. That change invalidated dream halls, so then I took dream halls out and then I put in Demonic Consultation to support bosses, okay? And then that Dream Halls pull out made me take out Grim Monolith for Manamorphose, Where did it go? Metamorphose, because more color fixing to support Necropotence, because Dream Hall, a lot of lessons I'll get to in a second. I'll tell you all in a second. But I made those 3 switches and everything was working well. I did that because Pinnacle Monk, like you brought up earlier, I have to give shout outs to Guy Smole. It was a land, it was a combo piece, and then it was just recursion. It provided so much value and it can help with the mulligan issues that I was experiencing. And so I was like, okay, cool. Win rate started to tick up just a little bit, but I was actively talking to one of my homeboys, Sir Trekkie. I've been knowing him for a while now, and he also plays my variant of Tiamat in his local LGS and does pretty well. So whenever I make changes, I send them to him. And so I'm talking to him, like I'm keeping him up to date with all my changes. I'm like doing this. And I'm saying, I'm feeling really good. Pinnacle Monk is feeling really good. And he just hit me. He was like, dude, why don't you just run Dualcaster Mage over Pinnacle Monk? I was like, what? He was like, yeah, man, like the biggest benefit is you could do it at instant speed where Pinnacle Monk is sorcery speed based. I was like, I hear you. Let me go back to my office. Let me check it out. So I go back to my office and I run everything and I run all the scenarios and everything that Pinnacle Monk can do. Let me pause for a second. Pinnacle Monk does a lot. If you're not familiar with Pinnacle Monk, I have a whole section of my primer where I built out Pinnacle Monk combos and then took them out. This is all Pinnacle Monk stuff, all right? All of this Pinnacle Monk stuff, all right? So we're talking about you can make infinite mana with Burnt Offering plus Sonhav. You make infinite black and red mana. Then you can infinitely recast your red and black instance with infinite black and red plus insert of sorcery plus Sonhav. You can also make near infinite Wooburg and draw your deck. You can also tutor your entire library to your hand or graveyard with Demonic Tutor. Make infinite creature tokens with a Shallow Grave plus Sonhav plus a Pinnacle Monk like I brought before. And it's just, there's a lot of things you can do with it, but it's all just literally going Brute Lord into Pinnacle Monk. Brute Lord into Sonhav, Pinnacle Monk plus Burnt Offering. You just win the game, all right? But ultimately, in practice, I cannot tell you all the exact, or I'm not going to waste you all's time because we're not on Pinnacle Monk anymore, but it was a couple times where it felt a little clunky because of spell sequencing, and the fact that it wasn't instant speed was felt, okay? So then I said, hold on, Sir Trekkie, let's check out Dualcaster Mage. Let's talk about it. It's an interaction piece, so I can now go down on the interaction piece because I have really heavy red output, like Burnt Offering, Treasonous Ogre, Tinderwall, Rite of Flame, all that other good stuff. All right, it's an interaction piece, so I can go down the interaction piece from my 13. It will put me up to 14 pieces, so I can remove interaction piece to go down to 13. I got cool. And I was like, all right, what about the instant speed hoarding Brute Lord lines? And then I went on a dig, and I was like, okay, let's go to the primer. I went to my inspirations. I'm not going to get into everything now, but these instant speed lines here, shout out to these pilots. I'm actually going to open them up because I want to get these pilot shout outs real quick. Right here, the Brute Lord Ritualist for the Inala and Hoarding Brute Lord primer, and as well as the Hoarding Brute Lord combos primer for just all the Hoarding Brute Lords. I've studied these primers so much to really pull apart everything that I possibly can do with Dualcaster Mage, to the point I even created new Dualcaster Mage combos, which we'll be talking about in a second. And ultimately, what I found and what I learned is that not only is Dualcaster Mage better because it's instant speed, it's cheaper to cast, so it really solves the Bladewing is a heavy mana spell too. I can take a mulligan of 3 with Tinderwall plus Dualcaster Mage, because I can just Dualcaster Mage someone's tutor. I can Dualcaster Mage any. It's a copy spell and it's a combo spell with Sonhav. And this is where I'm going to pause for a second and kind of tap a little bit into the combo lines, because we're going to get to the Galazeth Prismari. We're going to get there for a second. Okay. All right. How about this? I'll meet you all in the middle. How about, I'm a teacher. That's why I do outside of this. And I love doing this with my kids, where I kind of take them on the journey as we're learning. But Dualcaster Mage is great. We'll actually get to the combo lines with Dualcaster Mage in a second. Just realize it's a stellar card, and I'll meet you all in the middle. I won't take you on the full journey right now. Just understand, Dualcaster does everything Bladewing does as a combo piece with Sonhav, as you can get into it from Sonhav into Burnt Offering plus Invoke Calamity, as long as you have a instant or sorcery based reanimation effect. whether it be Reanimate or Shallow Grave. You can do it at instant speed to go through with your Invoke Calamity lines. And with Dualcaster Mage, make infinite copies or a lot of copies of your Hoarding Brute Lord, the 2 to your deck, win the game with infinite copies of OBM, flash out a Thassa's Oracle, do infinite copies of Thassa's Oracle, win with Infinite Devotion, or you can make infinite copies of your Dualcaster Mage, cast a Final Fortune, and then just win the game. So it consolidated so much, added more interaction, did all this crazy stuff, and it was just great. Okay, just great. All right. Then what ended up happening was after this, we got a new set with Dina's Guidance. That was a slam dunk to me. Being instant speed, even though it's 1 more mana, instant speed for any creature to hand or graveyard. Being able to put our Dualcaster Mage or Orcish Bowmasters in hand at instant speed to use as interaction or to copy when we're like sitting on Tithe treasures or Lotho treasures is busted. Not to mention it goes to hand or graveyard. I've literally won games by going Dina's Guidance, put the Treasonous Ogre into my hand, go to my turn, and then just win with Treasonous Ogre Dragonstorm against a pod full of meta decks. It was a blue farm, it was a Ragashai, it was a Rogthras. Yes, Brewer's Advantage helped with this, but at the end of the day, hey, bro, they could have asked what I was getting with Dina's Guidance, politics. But Dina's Guidance felt good. Then we eventually was looking for more cuts. I got off Culling Ritual for the Cabbage Merchant, but Cabbage Merchant felt a bit too slow. I could talk more about that in the future, but we're trying to get to Galazeth Prismari. So we cut that out. We say, fuck that shit. Cut Culling Ritual out because it's not bad, but most of the times I'm either getting silenced or it's getting countered because it's impacting the board too much. And so the Cabbage Merchant came in, plus the only black and green mana in a 5-color deck was being felt. Now that we had show and tell, I didn't need to use it to get out of Hoarding Brute Lord. I could just show and tell Hoarding Brute Lord if it was in my hand, or discard it using Meringue's Omen ability. Let's go up to Meringue real quick. Everyone knows about this Omen ability for drawing cards, but they don't see it. That's a discard effect. You discard your Hoarding Brute Lord at instant speed for 3 colorless and a blue, and then reanimate it with your Shallow Grave or your Necromancy at instant speed. I know it's a lot of mana. It's nothing in this deck. It's nothing. All right. With that being said, we keep going. I eventually took out Cabbage Merchant, though, and put in Demonic Consultation back into the list. This was because of a big thing, which I added Dream Halls back to the list. And it was because of the new Dualcaster Mage combo that I created. That before, the Invoke Calamity based combo lines with Thassa's Oracle required you to have an Entomb effect in your hand. That would be Entomb, Dina's Guidance, or Lively Dirge. Okay? For the Dualcaster Mage, Entomb, you needed a Reanimator, instant, or sorcery. That'd be Corpse Dance, Shallow Grave, or Reanimate. We're not on Corpse Dance anymore. We're on Necromancy, but we're only on Necromancy because we found a new combo. So now you can do the Dualcaster Mage Invoke Calamity combo without any. Okay, and we're about to get to Gills. This is where Galazeth Prismari comes in. We can do our new Dream Halls combo with just Hoarding Brute Lord. Like, if you get that thing on board, the same way how you can go Brute Lord into Dracogenesis, you can go Brute Lord straight into your Dualcaster Mage combo. And this is where, once we break down this combo, you'll understand why we play Galazeth Prismari. All right, so we're going to head over to our Streamlabs real quick. We took Dream Halls out because we took Bladewing out. And it was pretty obvious, like, hey, yo, TTC, you can't win with Dream Halls anymore. You're not on Bladewing. Well, why are you still on Dream Halls? Because I'm a fucking genius, bro. Stay tuned, bro. Godly. All right. First, let's just do Dream Halls, all right? And I'm going to also get Ragavan because this is my favorite card to discard to cast Tiamat, all right? So just stay with me. Ragavan. All right. Where'd you go? There we go. All right, so you got Dream Halls on board right here, and you got a Ragavan in hand, all right? It's in your hand right here. And you discard it to the graveyard to cast Tiamat, all right? So you got Tiamat on the board. All right. Now, the benefit before, okay, is we would remember before, if we remember, we would go Dream Halls, cast Tiamat, go get all of our dragons, or most of our dragons, so we were on 6 dragons before, to be able to go discard Morite to cast Dragonlord Jamoka, and then we could discard Bladewing or discard Hoarding Brute Lord to cast Bladewing, and Bladewing will bring back Hoarding Brute Lord, okay? Then we can use those 3 creatures, Jamoka, Tiamat, and Tiamat, Jamoka, Tiamat, and Hoarding Brute Lord to saw in half, go Burnt Offering plus Dracogenesis, cast Dracogenesis, and with Meringue in your hand, You can Meringue, bounce your Bladewing, recast your Bladewing, and then do the Bladewing Morite combo. And also you have Tear the Peaks. You can also you would Meringue your Tiamat as well to recast the Tiamat to go get the Tear the Peaks as well. The full combos there. It's very simple, very simple. It's very, very cool stuff. The old combos in my primer. However, without Bladewing, we need a way to win, and it's with Invoke Calamity and Dualcaster Mage. But before I tell you all this new combo, I have to give reason for Galazeth Prismari. All right, so we're gonna put our dragons into our hand, and then I'll break everything else down. So if you're not aware of this feature, you just go. I'm gonna hit Morite, and I'm gonna hit T Dragon, T colon Dragon, and I'll put all my dragons in my hand. T colon Dragon. Shout out to that. We'll put Moraine, Dramoka, Hoarding Broomlord, and the aforementioned Galazeth Prismari. All right. Put all these cards into our hand. All right. Now, before I was on Tear of the Peaks, and this was not possible with Tear of the Peaks. Okay. Galazeth is over Tear of the Peaks. All right. I'm just going to talk about Galazeth for 1 second. Move these cards over here. All right. Galazeth was in the deck over Tear of the Peaks. All right. But before we got to Galazeth, we had to get to Nadar. So let's quickly go over, talk about Nadar for 10 seconds. All right. Here we go. Here we go. All right. Here we are, guys. Tear of the Peaks came out because I was once again self-reflective brewing. And I was like, dude, Tear of the Peaks is one of the last cards that is not really doing enough for me. It's doing a lot, but not enough. So I put in Nadar's Selfless Paladin. And I was like, cool. It hit 4 qualifications. Okay. A, if it can be found with Tiamat and cast with Dracogenesis. Cool. B, it could be an outlet to the Meringue plus Morite plus Dracogenesis combo, because you can loop Nadar and go through the dungeon called Lost Mine of Fandelver, and as long as you have 39 cards, each opponent will lose 1 life. You would gain 1 life. You can kill the table like that. Okay. 3, it validated the Dream Halls line that you're about to learn, because to do the Dream Halls line that I'm about to teach you, the creature needs to be white, black, green, or blue. It cannot be mono red. All right. And the 4th thing, I needed it to provide more value and to be easily castable from hand so I can do value plays. And Tear the Peaks being 5 mana, not only was hard to do value plays, it also required me to have more creatures in hand, meaning I'm going to have to do like Burnt Offering and Treason Soaker to get it out. And so that was fine. Nadar was fine. If you've seen the clip, I've won with this card before. But dungeons are slow. Dungeons are respectfully too slow. Okay. So I had to go back to the drawing board. I literally went to the advanced Scryfall feature and looked at every dragon at least 200 times. Went dragon by dragon and changelings, and was like, there has to be something that can give me all the benefits Nadar does, but just a little bit more mid-range value. Enter in Galazeth Prismari. Galazeth. I'm misspelling it. See, I'm blue balling y'all, bro. Enter Galazeth Prismari, okay? In the art that I actually like. Let's do the big art. Galazeth Prismari is findable, okay? Galazeth Prismari is findable off Tiamat and castable off of Dracogenesis. It is lowish mana cost and has mid-range viability. We've talked about how busted Tithe is. This is just, I call it a mid-range, not a mid-range Punisher, but a mid-range Punisher enhancer. By if we have Lotho or other Smothering Tithe treasures, we can now use our treasures and then untap and keep using them, keep going. For our instance of sorcery spells, it helps us in that mid to late game, okay? It validates our Dream Halls combo because it is either white, blue, green, or black. And the last thing, it does work with our Meringue plus Morite plus Dracogenesis combo. And this is what I will teach you all before I move into the Dream Halls combo. Please follow me back to the Moxwell playtester. All right. So the biggest thing that what Galazeth does that is so broken is that when it enters, you create a treasure token. All right. So let's move over to finding Dracogenesis. We got this on board some type of way. All right. what we can always do is Dracogenesis basically says you cast Tiamat and you just win the game. All right. Usually what you can do is loop Meringue and Morite. All right. And then bounce other non-land permanents. You could just win with Tear of the Peaks. But we don't want Tear of the Peaks, not because it's bad, but because it's not required anymore because we're not on Bladewing. Bladewing being removed for Dualcaster Mage was the only reason we can get on Nadar. And Nadar wanting to be pressure tested and pushed even more was the only reason we wanted to check out Galazeth Prismari. But why do we even need either Nadar or Galazeth Prismari if we have Hoarding Brute Lord? Because if you loop Hoarding Brute Lord, you can tutor your entire deck and just win the game. So we don't even need Nadar or Galazeth Prismari, says many players. And then this is where I have to pause people and say, hey, you're correct. To your brewing standards, you do not need anything on top of this. Of course, I didn't say it, but yes, of course you cast your silence effect first. Duh. You cast your silence effect, loop Meringue and Morite. However, over the building process of this deck has become incredibly reliant on Hoarding Brute Lord. And there are many situations where Hoarding Brute Lord no longer becomes accessible, especially now that we do not run Bladewing the Risen to bring it out the graveyard. There are situations where we cannot get it out the graveyard. There's even situations, whether it's an Atali hitting it, whether it's an opponent hitting it off Ragavan, whether it's we just had to use it for value and Shallow Grave did Brack to grab a piece of interaction, then it got exiled at the beginning of the end step because we couldn't sack it some type of way. Ultimately, Hoarding Brute Lord is not immortal. Okay? So where Nadar first came in and said, okay, I just do the outlet with Meringue plus Morite, TDC said that's good, but it's not great yet. So I had to go into my bag even deeper. Okay? Before I touched on Galazeth Prismari, I touched on another card in the TC Discord in the Tiamat's layer called, it's a Changeling. Oh my gosh. Y'all gonna be so happy after this. Hold on. Let me show y'all. Changeling. Where we at? Come on, move faster. Come on. We're almost there. All right. Changeling. All right. It's called, where's it at? This one. Verdok Core. Okay. Verdok Core is a shapeshifter, and it's a shapeshifter changeling, meaning we can find it off Tiamat and cast it, but it's not the colors we need to do the Dream Halls combo. But every time we can loop this with Morite and Meringue to make infinite mana. Why is that important? And why is that important for Galazeth Prismari? Because both with Verdok Core and Galazeth Prismari, it unlocks a new combo that I haven't heard anybody say with the Morite plus Meringue plus Tiamat combo with Dracogenesis. Both of these cards, Verdok Core and Galazeth Prismari, allowed you to loop with Meringue and Morite plus Dracogenesis to make infinite mana. And then, if we go back to our playtester, in those events that we lose Hoarding Brute Lord and say, for example, it's in exile, Atali hit it, but there was or let's just say Ragavan hit it, just to keep it in exile, we can't win. Now we need, for TTC's brewing standards, we need another way to win, another dragon or internal exile insurance, similar to how Praetor's Grasp is external exile insurance. So when I get my other 4 dragons, I do the following. This is what you all have been waiting for. I get Dracogenesis. I cast it for Tiamat. Let's get rid of this hand right here. I then go Dragon Lord Jamoka just like normal. I then cast Morite. I may grab something, or maybe there's some reason. It doesn't matter. Morite or Meringue can go first. Doesn't matter. I then loop Meringue and Morite to infinitely bounce all of my opponent's non-land permanents. All right. Bounced. Now what? I'll cast Galazeth Prismari for free. ETB. Make a treasure. Oh yeah, I love a treasure. I then create the loop of making, let's say, 1 shitillion treasures by using Meringue to bounce Morite and Galazeth, using Morite to cast to bounce Meringue plus Galazeth. And we just loop those until I make 1 billion treasures. TDC, now what? We talked about it. Let me cook. What I do now is Meringue is not just an ETB bounce. It is surpassed what used to be Wargorger Dragon. It is a broken card. What you do now is once you bounce Morite to your hand for the last thing, you're going to recast Morite, bouncing Meringue to your hand and Tiamat to your hand. you're going to use these treasures now to cast Meringue for its Omen ability to draw 3 cards and discard a card. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, discard a card, BS card. And then Omen, basically it says, unlike Adventure, it shuffles back into your library. So you shuffle Meringue back into your library. And then you recast Tiamat to put it back into your hand. You recast Meringue, bounce Morite and Tiamat back to your hand. And then you cast the Morite to bounce the Meringue to your hand. Then you cast the Meringue ability, draw 1, 2, 3, discard 1 card, and you now have a loop to draw your deck with the infinite treasures you created off Galazeth Prismari. All right. Now, why is this important? Because in the event that we lose Hoarding Brute Lord, we can still draw our deck, have infinite mana, and either draw into Saw in Half plus Dualcaster Mage to win with Final Fortune, infinitely have treasures to infinitely bounce now Orcish Bowmasters, because we just changed the loop with Morite plus Meringue in order to bounce OBM now. We can't cast it for free with Dracogenesis, but we have infinite treasures. And third, we just draw our fucking deck and cast Thassa's Oracle and win the game. There you go. That's why I run Galazeth Prismari. But that's only 3 of the 4 parks. There's one more thing, one more piece of tech that I have to put you on. And this will understand why Dream Halls is still in the list, understand why Dualcaster Mage is so powerful, and understand why Galazeth Prismari over Nadar, Fur.Core, Core, notably over Fur.Core. Core. Okay? We're there. We get the Galazeth Prismari. Before I move forward, I don't want to overstimulate anybody. If there's any questions or anything, I'm going to read the chat. Let's get it. Okay. All right. So we have first, day 72. Still no Prismari explanation. I don't know how much longer. I'll hold on. All right. Yo, Galazeth time. Yeah. We are so back. Yeah. Okay. We had a little bit of technical issue there. It's Galazeth time. Yep. Galazeth over Terra is rambunctious. I know, bro. This comes from, truthfully, it came not because Terra was failing. It was because I was playing Scion and I said, I know I should do what everybody says. I know the rule is when you find a deck that's better, just play the better deck. But why can't I use self-reflective brewing and make my own pet deck, my own favorite deck, better from the learned experiences of my other better deck? Every change recently in Tiamat has come from Scion. And it's to the point Tiamat is getting so good that now it's influencing Scion back. It's crazy. But these changes were not necessary. They were not needed for everyone else but me. And I had to go in my bag to solve these problems is how do I make Tiamat actually be a meta buster in this current Ristic Slop turbo world where I need my deck still to keep pace with Rockside, but be able to control the pod when it's like other slop decks at the table. And if you've seen my recent TC clips, you've seen I've achieved that with Galazeth, with Dualcaster Mage, with other things. So but Nadar is deranged and insane. It is. As an independent value piece, it is because it doesn't provide, for me, Nadar gets the job done, but it wasn't good enough for me. I needed something that can come down and create immediate value, and not just the treasure token, but if I'm sitting on a bunch of treasures from like Lotho or Smothering Tithe, I now don't have to feel bad about cracking treasures. I can just tap them, do my value control play, mid-range adaptability, and then when I untap, I can just win the game, and I don't have to worry about that. It allows for that immediate value like I wanted to. Not shitting on Nadar. I love Nadar. That finding that card was awesome. There was also some cool initiative cards. There was a red and a green one that I was looking at too, but I didn't want people hitting me because of initiative and trading the initiative around. Some decks don't need the initiative. It's just too much. We got someone saying this was the most foreshadowed explanation and overall best breakdown I've ever seen in any TCG. Thank you. Smole says, dude, I wanted to shit on Prismari so bad, but it's so peak, I'm being brought to tears. Wow. Thank you. I'm glad you all enjoyed it, and I'm glad that the wait was worth it. And can I tell you all, we're not even done yet. I'm not even done breaking down the comparisons of the deck or going through the other changes. That's how layered Prismari is. That's how much in the bag I've been in the last 6 months since playing Scion. Because every time Scion got better, I had to have Tiamat beat it. Scion would get better, Tiamat had to get better. Forever and ever. All right. Let's see. I didn't know I was watching Master Chef, but holy cook. I'm telling you, this deck should not be this powerful while being this fun to play and brew. It just shouldn't be. In the conversation, let's get into the new Dream Halls line, the new Dualcaster Mage line without Bladewing the Risen. We're going to get into it, but just, do you see what I'm saying now? Okay. You see what I'm saying? Let's get into it. All right. In this next example, Dracogenesis is not in the picture. We're doing Dream Halls. We are going to just reset the board just a tad, put that Ragavan into our hand, move Tiamat back to there. We've got to reset a couple things, but we are good. We are good. We are good. Move this to the library. If y'all enjoyed that, you haven't seen anything yet, but I just feel like these guys don't even know what's about to come now. Oh my gosh. I love this deck so much. All right. Tiamat's in the command zone. We got a Ragavan in our hand. We discard that to the graveyard to cast Tiamat for free. All right, one of the benefits before when we had Bladewing is before doing the combo, because we were slinging spells with instant sorceries, you wanted to be able to get Dramoka onto the board. Notably, this is why we don't run, another reason why we don't run Omni Changeling. We put our 5 dragons in the hand and we will cast a Dragonlord Dramoka, discarding Morite. No Bladewing, we don't care. All right, we continue. We're not done yet. Let me cook. All right. Now, before we had a problem. If you look at our hand, all right, no black creature to cast Hoarding Broodlord. If you see it, you're a genius. If you don't, just wait. This is where the blue cut creature comes in. We will cast Meringue River Regent, discarding Galazeth. Because why? It's blue. You're going to bounce your own Tiamat to your hand. And now that problem is solved. There's the black creature. We're going to cast Hoarding Broodlord from the hand and discard Tiamat. State-based action sends it back to the command zone right there, okay? We now have a Hoarding Broodlord and 2 other creatures on the board. Remember, we just needed Dream Halls and 1 colored card for before a Bladewing combo. We've just done it without Bladewing. Notably, this even works through Necropotence where Bladewing combo didn't work through Necropotence, but we haven't even got there. Just let me cook a little bit more. All right. Now the problem comes up where how are you going to win with Dracogenesis? How? I don't. I win with Invoke Calamity plus Dualcaster Mage with the new combo line that I created in order to make this possible. All right. With this being said, and this was the reason I put Dream Halls back in my list. As I get the cards out, notable thing to bring up. When I made the change of Dream Halls out, it left my deck with 1 turbo 1-card anchor left. If you weren't here for the Scion deck tech, a turbo 1-card anchor is a easily castable card in the first 1 to 2, maybe 3 turns that you can hard cast from hand and immediately assemble or immediately win the game quickly, but only from 1 card. That is like Ad Nauseam, like Necropotence, Gifts Ungiven, or in this case, Dream Halls, okay? Now, the thing is, when we took Dream Halls out, our deck became too dependent on our life total to win quickly with Treasonous Ogre and Necropotence, meaning if our opponents attacked our life total hard, that means that we can't win as quickly, which is fine because we're winning quickly, so it doesn't matter. But it's just a thing where it wasn't good enough for me, A, and then B, I had a game against an Ang deck where they did pressure my life total quickly because they got to turn 1 Ang out. And I was like, damn, I had to push a turn 3 no mana up Necropotence with only like a mana vault up, and it was just 3 colors. I couldn't do anything with it, and I lost the game. And I realized at first I thought I failed because I didn't progress this, like, yo, I failed because I didn't try to force a draw here. But then it clicked to me. The next game happened. I won with the Wheel of Fortune into Dream Halls plus Show and Tell, crazy pool. And then as we were doing our post-game review, I was talking to my homeboy Azzy. I was like, I was literally mid-sentence and it fell out of the heavens. I was like, wait a second, bro. Does this work like I think it works? I think I can add Dream Halls back to my list because I think I needed Dream Halls on my list because I needed a way to win. I had the 5 mana on board, but I needed a way to win, but I couldn't win with my life total because you attacked my life total. So I needed a way to win quickly all in 1 turn without using my life total. And Dream Hall does that, but I need a way to make Dream Halls work. So I was like, okay, I think I can do it with my new Dualcaster Mage combo. So back to the combo. Once Hoarding Broodlord enters the battlefield, you go to Saw in Half. Okay. You ETB that booger and you find Saw in Half. And you're going to tap all three just as usual. Convoke cast. You're going to Saw in Half your Hoarding Brute Lord. Okay? Please stay tuned. You're going to make those 2 copies of Hoarding Brute Lord. Hoarding Brute Lord, the original, will go to the graveyard. Saw in Half will go to the graveyard. And then you have these 2 untapped tokens. All right. Now, usually at this point, this is where you cannot do a Dualcaster Mage combo because you'll need a Reanimator enchantment in the graveyard to use in order to go Burnt Offering plus Invoke Calamity, Burnt Offering to help cast Invoke Calamity, and you'll use the Shallow Grave or Reanimate to bring the Saw in Half and the Hoarding Brute Lord back. All right. Saw in Half on a stack. Hoarding Brute Lord resolves first, finding Dualcaster Mage, use the extra mana plus Convoking from the Burnt Offering. Now you have Dualcaster Mage Saw in Half. But there's a different line you can take. If you use these 2 Hoarding Brute Lord ETBs to go find Burnt Offering, and then you go find Shallow Grave, what you will do is you will tap both of these Hoarding Brute Lords to cast a Shallow Grave. The top creature of your graveyard is Hoarding Brute Lord, putting Shallow Grave and leaving Saw in Half in the graveyard, all right? This will bring back the original Hoarding Brute Lord. You still have Saw in Half, though, in exile from this other Hoarding Brute Lord, and you have a new Hoarding Brute Lord ETB on the stack. With that new Hoarding Brute Lord ETB on the stack, you're going to go find Invoke Calamity. And if you see it, you're a genius. If you don't, stay tuned. Tap this Hoarding Brute Lord, the original Hoarding Brute Lord, casting Burnt Offering, sacrificing the original Hoarding Brute Lord, making, let's get our handy dandy tokens out. You're going to make either 8 red or 7 red and a black. Does not matter. We'll do 7 red and a black for this example. There's a black. There's 3 red. There's 4 more red. All right. Now, let's move these creatures out the way because they're not useful or not needed at this time anymore. Now, that Burnt Offering goes to the graveyard. You can now cast Invoke Calamity using 4 red and a 5th red. Okay. Invoke Calamity will cast 2 cards from your graveyard. All we care about is this Saw in Half and Shallow Grave that's in the graveyard, all right? This Saw in Half can target any creature. We'll just target one of our Hoarding Brute Lord, and we'll stack it so Shallow Grave resolves first. Shallow Grave will resolve while Saw in Half is still in the stack, bringing back Hoarding Brute Lord, all right? Shallow Grave will then go to exile because Invoke Calamity is in exile, Shallow Grave is in exile. This Hoarding Brute Lord ETB will go on the stack. You will find Dualcaster Mage. All this is at instant speed. Then you'll tap this Hoarding Brute Lord. Use this last 2 red mana. This could be a black or red mana. It doesn't really matter. You could have made it 8 red and hold up a Redirect Lightning, my favorite spell. So let's just do that. Let's say we did 8 red and we just have an extra red for a Redirect Lightning in our hand. But there's a 2 red right there for your Dualcaster Mage. And what? Dualcaster Mage on the stack with the Saw in Half on the stack already? What? Whoa. Oh my. Wait. What? Oh. I just assembled my combo under Silence Protection. What? I can't believe it. What? Yes, I did. And what do you do with this Saw in Half plus Dualcaster Mage combo? You make as many copies, not infinite, but as many copies of Hoarding Brute Lord you want. With those Hoarding Brute Lord token copies that will come in untapped. Notably, they will come in untapped. You will follow that up by going either to go get Orcish Bowmasters to ping the table. You also can make infinite copies of your Dragonlord Jamoka and your Moraine River region to bounce all of your opponent's non-land permanents and make infinite green, blue, and white creatures to help with convoking your green, blue, and white spells, as well as black spells to help with the convoking the black spells. And you also going to have red spells because of Dualcaster Mage. Now you have Wooburg for convoking. You don't have to use mana for anything, but you will be creating mana off all the tutors you get from Hoarding Brute Lord. And then, on top of all that, you have now 3 different avenues to win. You either win with Thassa's Oracle, you go get Born, you go get Thassa's, all right? You get Born and Thassa's, you convoke cast them with Moraine River region. Or you can get, like I brought up, Orcish Bowmasters. Convoke cast that with Hoarding Brute Lord. Or you just go get a Final Fortune. And you have Silence of Protection, you have infinite Dualcaster Mages, kill them with infinite Dualcaster Mages. The world is your oyster. I don't need Terror of the Peaks. I don't need Nadar. I don't need any other finishers. Dualcaster Mage does it fucking all, bro. It does it all. And we can do it with Dracogenesis or Moraine. And I want to bring up these 2 major points. Notably, the cards we discarded were Ragavan, Galazeth Prismari, Morite, and Tiamat. All right. Necropotence usually means we can't do this combo through Necropotence. So all those cards will be exiled and we don't care. All these other combos is just things sacking and come back, meaning we can do it through necropotence. Point number 1. Point number 2, if you remember the original Hoarding Brute Lord, let's move all these cards out the way. All of these cards out the way. Hold on now. We got to move all of these cards out the way. All right. To start this combo, we just got a Hoarding Brute Lord onto the board. All right. Nothing else. We just had the 2 colors mana, or in this case, 2 additional creatures. We are able to go now from Hoarding Brute Lord, not just into Burnt Offering plus Dracogenesis, but we were able to expand this combo now to go from Hoarding Brute Lord into Burnt Offering and Shallow Grave into a Dualcaster Mage line. Why is this significant? Shout out to Daryl, my TC Vanguard, another leader within my TC community. Shout out to the TC community Discord. We have some fucking amazing brewers in there. If you have 2 branching paths, okay, where you can choose between Dracogenesis and Dualcaster Mage plus Invoke Calamity, because we're Tiamat pilots, our usual would say, hey, take the Dracogenesis bill. It's simple. But what does it fall prey to? Boseiju, the cheapest channel effect in the format. What does our Dualcaster Mage Invoke Calamity line not fall prey to? Boseiju. Both of these fall prey to the Otawara. Both of these fall prey to the Touch the Spell Room and all the other things. But taking the most popular channel effect when you have green out of their roster means that now Dualcaster Mage Invoke Calamity is the most reliant, best instant speed combo in this deck that requires no prior setup other than just putting a Hoarding Brute Lord on the field and having 2 more colorless mana, or just having 2 more creatures on board. That's it. I can show it, tell it. Dream Halls, Dracogenesis, Entomb Reanimate effect. However the fuck I want to get that bitch on the hard cast that junk with Smothering Tithe treasures. I can do whatever I want. All literally with Hoarding Brute Lord. Let's bring it around full circle. I've shown now how much of a linchpin piece Hoarding Brute Lord is in this list. Now my opponents know we can't just bounce that bitch. We can't just kill that bitch. We need to get rid of it, period. Why? That is why Galazeth Prismari was a necessary include. Because once people know how important this card is, it becomes an easily Praetor's Grasp, Ragavan, Atali, however the fuck they want to steal that bitch from me target. And I needed another way to guarantee that despite of how powerful is my deck, that I have another way to win, while also being able to fight it off Tiamat, play with Dracogenesis, win with Moraine plus Morite, win with Dream Halls, and also have some type of utility outside of just win the game, outlet, tear of the peaks. Drops mic. I'm going to go to the chat now to answer some questions. That is why Galazeth Prismari important. That is why Dualcaster Mage is important. These changes were not needed. I could have just said, I'm fine. I'm winning enough games. 58% is a strong win rate. It's good enough. That's not good enough for TTC. That's all I'm going to say. All right. We got D-Trove saying, did you just talk about Galazeth Prismari include already? Think I missed that one. Yep, you just missed it. Dang! Shout out to D-Trove. He is my other TC Vanguard leadership within the TC community. He's fucking awesome. He is an amazing pilot, amazing brewer. Actually, the originator of the Disrupting Show Tech in Scion. And of course, Busy added on the clarification that helped us know why it's not in Tiamat. But awesome pilot, awesome dude. If you're ever looking for brewing advice and you're in the TC Discord, in addition to all the other amazing brewers, ping D-Trove the Doc. He's a great dude. Very, very good. We got Small saying, Doodle was the best moment in my life. Sal, I don't want to mispronounce your name. I'm sorry, but I'm just say S. It was such a memorable experience. Just D-Trove says, I have to watch it in the YouTube. Damn. Get this man Oscar. Thank you so much. From Spole. Spole also says, man has saved me literally years of brewing and tech. Y'all don't understand the level. Let me go back to the other screen, y'all. I gotta go back to the other screen. Hold on. We'll be back. Hold on. We'll be back. Hold on. The level of banging against my own internal head that I had to do in order to make these ideas be real. The number of Magic flipping around like maybe this card could do this, maybe this effect could do this. It makes sense when it makes sense. And there's going to be a lot of pilots of love who are going to say, why are you doing that? Why, like, what is your point of winning without tearing the piece? Just do it. Why are you taking this out? Why are you running? I've had so many people. Why are you playing Dream Hall? I mean, why are you playing Dream Hall still? Why are you playing Invoke Calamity, Dragonstorm? Everything has a purpose. Everything has a purpose. And it allows us to run with that Thunderstorm style of playing close to our hand with these fucking behemoth 6, 7, 8, and 9 mana CMC spells in our hand, while also being explosive and able to win with and without Tiamat. It's fucking awesome. And it's one of the reasons I love this deck so much. And I'm not even finished with the deck tech. I'm grateful that S and Smol really pushed me to talk about Galazeth Prismari. I was going to talk about it, but I was just going to get to it as I got to it. Like, oh, it's kind of some cool tech. Here's some bags. But I appreciate having you all for the experience. It made it a really big experience for me as well, because I really got to, like, I kind of got pushed, like, all right, I gotta unfold the story quicker. Like, so let me get into it. But no, yeah, we're going to get back to the regular deck tech. But if you're wondering about Galazeth Prismari, about Dream Halls, about anything, please understand the intentionality that went into these types of cards and these new combo lines, from the Dualcaster Mage, the Dream Halls, the Galazeth Prismari. All these new lines came from this mind wanting something better, because the current status quo wasn't good enough. Let's get back to the deck tech. All right. So those are all the reasons for all the things when it comes to the Dina's guidance for more instant speed wins. We understand that now to support both Thassa's and Dualcaster Mage lines, which we know Dualcaster Mage is a tank now. Moving on though, notably, I did take out Voice of Victory for the new Jennifer Walters. Shout out to Gen Fusion, my TC Tech card within the TC community. Shout out to the TC community. He made an amazing point. I asked everybody, hey, what's your deciding factor between Voice of Victory and Jennifer Walters? And we'll get to the ETB Dilemma in a little bit, the Achilles heel of this deck, but also the opportunity. But this being a 6/6 on the back is huge. Because of the mana output that we can create, casting it is not impossible, nor super difficult at times if we're forced to go to a more combat beats-based strategy. Also, the other benefit of Voice of Victory is the Mobilize 2. Being able to have extra creatures to sacrifice the Diabolic Intent and Culling the Weak and other sacrifice effects cannot be compared to anything else. It's really, really, really strong. Yes, you have to let it sit for a turn, but going Voice of Victory into Final Fortune is a very common play pattern to be able to reset your mana, meaning you can go to combat, make the extra creatures, go to your second main phase and start breach looping with your Diabolic Intent. That's 3 tutors with Diabolic Intent, and well, 2, because you don't want to stick your Voice of Victory. But in this deck, in Tiamat, we do not run sack effects other than Burnt Offering, meaning I don't need the extra tokens, but I need the extra beater. Not to mention, this has a little bit more attack on the 2/3 on the front side, meaning in those stacked out situations where we have some ETB hate, we'll talk about that in a little bit, we can apply the more pressure and do the thing. So overall, my hypothesis is that Jennifer Walters, because I have to choose between one, it's a little tighter slots in this one, I can't do Voice and Jennifer Walters in this list. Ultimately, I decided to go Jennifer Walters for Tiamat, and as you all have already seen in the Scion deck tech, we've done both Voice of Victory and Jennifer Walters in Scion. We've already talked about this, but as you all already know, we took Tear the Peaks out and we went into Nadar Selfless Paladin, and after some testing felt a bit slower than we wanted, and we went on to Galazeth Prismari for all the reasons listed earlier in this deck tech. And last but not least, the recent change we made, because we just wanted to up our turbo edge just a hair bit, we went ahead and took out Lim-Dûl's Vault for Gamble. If you check out our primer, notably, this was already a switch out that we were actively doing here in our flex slots, going from Lim-Dûl's Vault for Gamble, notably because you can cast a Treasonous Ogre and literally just either go Gamble for Dracogenesis or Dragonstorm. This is critical because, if I could just be honest, there are going to be some matchups where you're going against a Itali, going against a Ral, going against a Roxai, and the extra turn that's required from Lim-Dûl's Vault can sometimes be just a hair bit too slow. Straight up, it just being too slow. And It's a great card. Pitch it. Great pitch fodder to Chrome Mox and the Force of Will in the misdirection. Can shred through the library really easily. But whether I'm going Treasonous Ogre into Gamble, or I'm just going instant speed Necropotence where Lim-Dûl's Vault's already offline because of my life total, or harder to navigate, I ultimately found that this card is a great card that I love and I don't want to cut, but my risk tolerance has increased where I'm willing to run Gamble as a way to say, hey, if I mono red Entomb, hopefully I can discard a Hoarding Brute Lord. At least that. If not, I was going to lose the game either way to Rock Size turn 2 push. I got blessed with the higher seed order. I'm going to go land Mana Vault turn 1, turn 2 Treasonous Ogre Gamble. Let's get that Dragonstorm and see what the fuck happens, man. If I discard it, oh well, so sad. If I don't discard it, cool. All right. With all that being said, these are all the changes that we've made thus far since our last deck tech. 19 changes, huge changes. Huge changes, if I cannot say so myself. These have been humongous changes that truthfully I have never felt so good about Tiamat in my life. If I was a more active tournament player, I could see this being one of the most fun decks to play in the tournament scene because it holds viability at the top tables. It's not tier 0. It's not. Cyan is. But this is definitely something that I can argue with the right pilot to be at least tier 1. But you have to play with that Thunderstorm style. All right. With that being said, I'm going to answer some questions and check out the chat real quick. We got S saying, Galazeth Prismari. Not Galazeth Prismari. Galazeth Prismari. We got Galazeth Peakmari. I ain't gonna lie, that Peakmari was hot, bro. No cap. That Peakmari. Yeah, I agree. That it is even better. S said that. And we had Smo said, this deck brings me joy and I don't even play it. Bro, that's how I feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, I play it and it brings me joy, but like, it's not that Scion or Blue Farm or Roxai or Atali or any of those decks are bad. I just genuinely, the brewing experience is so much fun. Truly, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. It's just fun. And just imagine playing it too. Oh, it's so much fun. But I digress. Before I say anything else and we move into our current mulligan anchors as well as our win conditions, before I touch on any of those things, I just have to give a humongous shout out to our Thunder Legion Patreon community, the people that make all this possible. If you enjoy the theatrics, the streams, the YouTube videos, the TC clips, the TC community, all of this is possible because of the Thunder Legion Patreon community. Shout out to our Is It Tier patrons who make this possible and get the perks of weekly level up logs and weekly level up gameplay videos to help them level up their gameplay. And all of this is only possible because of them. And I just want to say a humongous thank you to each and every one of you all. But back to the show. With that being said, let's move into our tags as we did with Scion. Notably, I'm going to start with my 0 category and then work my way down because everything's been coming together so we can kind of change up the flow a little bit. Notably, we are on only 5 dragons: Dragonlord Jamoka, Galazeth Prismari, Hoarding Brute Lord, Meringue River Regent, and Morite of the Frost. All right. I misspoke one. What is it? Galazeth Peakmari. My bad. I misspoke. With that being said, we do have a pretty dense synergy package being Burnt Offering, Dracogenesis, Dragonstorm, Dream Halls, Invoke Calamity, Saw in Half, Show and Tell, and Treasonous Ogre. We'll talk more about those in a little bit, but the one I want to speak on very quickly is Dragonstorm. Ever since cutting Bladewing the Risen, it has been extremely notable that Dragonstorm has become a second copy of Hoarding Brute Lord. Because of the exclusion of Bladewing the Risen, if your Brute Lord is in your hand or in your graveyard, Dragonstorm is pretty much dead. But we have enough reanimation effects to get it out of graveyard, and we have Show and Tell to get it out of our hand, and just hard casting it with Dracogenesis, Dream Halls, and treasures from Smothering Tithe, okay? But when you see Dragonstorm, a big tip I've been giving players is, hey, this is just a second copy of your Hoarding Brute Lord, okay? That also can get Dragonlord Jamoka first to give you a silence effect, and also can get a Meringue River Regent to bounce that Dranth Magistrate that's keeping you from winning the game. So really, you only give a fuck about the tutor hates like Ava Mind Sensor and also Opposition Agent. But if you see a Dranith, you don't care because you just got to get the Storm 2. All right. Original copy, Dramoka. Second copy, Moraine River Regent. Bounce those Stax pieces. And third copy, Hoarding Brute-Lord. And after that, Convoke Cast them junks and you're good to go. So I love Dragonstorm for that reason. Next, we do have our Reanimator package. We have 3 Entomb effects, being Entomb, Dina's Guidance, and Lively Dirge, as well as 3 reanimation effects, being Necromancy, Reanimate, and Shallow Grave. These were intentionally chosen because of the instant speed nature of these and the utility nature of this, being able to let this be a mulligan anchor in some application, but it just grabs our Esper, grabs our Lotho, can just grab a Thassus to go alongside of Demonic Consultation, obtain it back to just win the game. Super, super flexible, and even though it is a little expensive and sorcery speed, some people may choose to play Unmarked Grave. I respect that. The fact that this can be singular by itself, be a card that you use in your mulligans to convert into a actual game plan is very strong, and is the reason we're actually running Dina's Guidance over Unmarked Grave. Same thing, creature to hand, creature to graveyard, help me win the game and help me get turn 2 to 3 value piece to be able to get back in the game. If we're trying to be turbo consistent and mid-range adaptive, this is what we can do. And when it comes to these spells being high cost, we just need to worry about having enough ramp pieces to make sure we can still get them out and win with them on the turn 2s to 3s, even though they are 3 mana Entomb effects. All right. Same with these reanimation effects, but we are running Reanimate because we don't have a Simine's Reclamation in this list versus our side of the Ur-Dragon list. We got our instant speed reanimation effects. These 2 are really big for our Dualcaster Mage combos. And we also have a Reanimate here just to be for the more turbo stuff, where if we have Entomb, Reanimate plus 2 more colorless, that's GG either with Dracogenesis or with Thassus or with going through an Invoke Calamity line or Dualcaster Mage. Entomb plus Reanimate is just G. Okay. With that being said, I want to touch on very quickly the 1-card anchors and for the turbo variant and the regular. All right. When these comes to these, we're notably talking about our turbo 1-card anchors, like we've already brought up. We have 2 of them in this list, being Necropotence to be able to win as soon as turn 2 to turn 3, and Dream Halls to be able to win as soon as turn 1 to turn 3, depending on if we have a Show and Tell in hand to push it out turn 1, or like a Mana Vault or a Dark Ritual to push it out on turn 2 to turn 3. These are super easy to cast in the early game, so that's why I call them my turbo 1-card anchors. When it comes to our other mid-range anchors, we're looking at Mystic Remora, Smothering Tithe, and Rhystic Study. These both are great to get into the mid-game by themselves, and you don't really need anything else. All the other answers will just come to hand. And if your opponents pay for them, it's cool. You'll naturally top deck into the things you need to play the game. So whether they play slow or play into them, you still get thumbs up. But we already know about that. I did bring up already Smothering Tithe. 21 treasures wins the game protected. 15 to 16 treasures win the game unprotected with just going Tiamat into Hoarding Brute-Lord. Smothering Tithe is great because we are not 10 mana win the game. It is much easier to politic, but it's still some challenge with Smothering Tithe. So be aware that as you navigate things, you got to have some strong political skills because your Brewer's Advantage can only work so much. We also have the 1-card anchors of Dracogenesis, Dream Halls, Hoarding Brute-Lord, and Dragonstorm. Remember, Dragonstorm or Hoarding Brute-Lord are pretty much the same card in our list now because we don't have Bladewing anymore. These 3 are super expensive. They usually are more 2-card anchors when paired with Show and Tell for Dracogenesis and Hoarding Brute-Lord, and Treasonous Ogre when Dragonstorm and Dracogenesis. But because we generate so much naturally, we notably can just go, all right, cool. I have a bunch of mana and I just have it out. If I just top deck one of my spells, I can just win the game. You top deck a Hoarding Brute-Lord, cast a Hoarding Brute-Lord, go into your Dracogenesis or into your Invoke Calamity plus Dualcaster Mage combo. Super, super simple. When it comes to our 2-card anchors, our mulligan anchors, all right, these are a lot bit more widespread. This is also our Hoarding Brute-Lord instant speed package, talking about an Entomb and Reanimate effect. So if we look back to our Reanimator package, there is that. We also have notably our to go into Hoarding Brute-Lord lines, whether to go into a Thassa's Oracle instant speed line or Dualcaster Mage instant speed line. We haven't gone over the Thassa's Oracle line recently, but if you go to our previous deck text tagged up here, you will see those lines. Next, we do have our 2-card combo of Thassus plus Tainted and Thassus plus Demonic Consultation. And we also do have our 2-card combo of Dualcaster Mage plus Saw in Half. So as you can see, we have a lot of ways to just clean this game up. But don't also forget about the 2-card combo of Lively Dirge or Dina's Guidance to go get Thassa's Oracle and win with Tainted back plus Demonic Consultation. These are all 2-card anchors and instant speed, potential instant speed packages that we can do. And these other cards you see like Burnt Offering, Final Fortune, Thassa's Oracle, and even technically Orchestrable Masters are talking more of the instant speed Hoarding Brute Lord package for this Tiamat brew, being the Tiamat Reanimator brew. That's the gist of it when it comes to that. I'm going to pause for 1 second before we go into our win cons and finishers to just answer some questions. We got Mo saying, I love Miram so much because I can rip a Dragonstorm with a single storm count, grab Miram, Hoarding Brute Lord, and a win with 0 open mana. And Miram and 2 copies of Convoke for 3 for a saw and half. And the extra tutor can grab removal or stack interaction to protect the win. That's true. Miram is crazy like that. I will add though, that is with a high enough storm count, especially if you use Treasonous Orca to cast it, which is another creature to help when Convoke, you can get a similar effect with just going Dragonlord, Dromoka into Hoarding Brute Lord. You already have Treasonous Orca on the stack. That's just a storm of 1. But we'll talk about those combo lines in a second. But same gist of what you're saying. The Miram does allow for more explosive play. And I gotta admit, it can be, when you're comboing off, it can be mentally overstimulating for some pilots. But at the same time, it's fun. I'm not gonna lie. Small also says, I fully understand why Miram was cut from your list, but I just love that win so much because it's very unexpected. I agree. It's fun. Can we pause for just, give me 10 seconds? All right. Turn off the CEDH brain, TDH brain for 1 second. Miram is objectively fun as fuck. All right. So if you want to run it, it's cool, brother. It's cool. All right. CEDH, TDH brain back on. All right. We have S saying, what's the usual play pattern for Necropotence? 10 life on the first turn, 20 something on the next turn. I feel it's hard to win on the very same turn you cast Necropotence, but this may be a little bit of a skill issue on my end. Very, very good question. What I usually do with Necropotence is my usual play pattern with Necropotence is I get it down turn 1 to turn 2. And there's 2 ways to go about this: Turbo Necropotence and then Slowed Necropotence. For Turbo Necropotence, you get it out on turn 1 to turn 2. And my first one, I usually do hand size +1. So I do for 8 cards traditionally, unless I already have my instant speed enabler in hand, like Final Fortune, Born, like an Entomb Shallowgrave, Entomb Necromancy, or some shenanigans like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'll do the 8 life and I'll trim down the hand size, make sure I got my win con plus my ramp. And if I got any extra room, I'll keep the interaction in hand. Then I'll go to my turn 2 to turn 3 and I'll do my big pool. And the goal is to be able to go down to 6 life because I play, remember, Redirect Lightning that costs 5. I usually like going down to 5, but I go down to 6 in these decks because of Redirect Lightning. And what I will do is I'll keep in consideration my lands as well. So say if I have a City of Brass, a Command Tower, and a Badlands, all right, and I'm pushing on turn 3, I'll go down to 7 life because City of Brass makes that turn life actually be 6 because I hit myself for 1. Once I go down to the virtual actual 6 life, I will assemble a very convoluted and creative line. As you can see from just our Dream Halls and Dualcaster Mage lines and stuff like that, this deck, this is the journey to win, is so unique where ultimately this is a one-on-one level up session kind of conversation where I can actually go through Necropotence lines with you. I actually will be doing a one-on-one level up session with one of my Vanguards pretty soon. Shout out to him. Talk about Necropotence in his specific brew. But in the 5 color, remember that we have our 5 instant speed enablers and anchors that we're looking for. All right. We go to the very bottom and we're looking for the following. Okay. We're looking for Born Upon the Wind or Final Fortune. We all know about those. We're also looking for Shallowgrave or Necromancy to go into either a Hoarding Brute Lord, a Thassa's Oracle, or a Dualcaster Mage combo. Okay. Sometimes the 2 red and colorless is tough, but if you can discard the Dualcaster Mage, go use the exile triggers to go like Shallowgrave or Saw and Half, whole priority Shallowgrave, do infinite copies. If you have extra mana, you can just win with OBM or Final Fortune right then, or you just keep your hand sculpted to the remaining being interaction, and you just make the infinite creature tokens and win on your following turn. Board wipes are very low in our format, so the fact that we have 3 CMC creatures, because clones keep their original CMC value, infinite copies of Dualcaster Mage, not even Culling Ritual can hit this, and that's where most people are running for board wipes, not even OBM. Our biggest enemy is like OBM triggers a face or other like killing at the face, because we would be at like maybe 4 to 6 life. And so that's what we're worried about when it comes to that. But we can also do Thassa's Oracle and Hoarding Brute combos with this. That's why we do run Demonic Consultation and Tainted Pact to be able to do the slick, discard Thassa's Oracle, reanimate with Shallow Grave, and hit a decon. That's 3 mana. Okay, super simple. And the last is Invoke Calamity. Much more difficult to execute when paired with Necropotence. It's much better, but it is an option because like I brought up before, whether it's casting already cast instants or sorceries from our graveyard or just casting sorceries from our hand after doing such a big Necropotence pulled down to 6 life, I personally find that there are times where I get a lot of mana and I can convert with Invoke Calamity, but it just takes a lot of creativity. There's times where I was able to get 8 mana and was able to do Saw and Half, Hold Priority, Invoke Calamity, have Invoke Calamity cast the Demonic Tutor I cast on turn 1, as well as and the Show and Tell that was in my hand from the Necropotence. And I would stack them so Demonic Tutor would resolve first, and then I would Show and Tell the Dualcaster Mage while the Saw and Half was still in the stack. That is 8 mana at instant speed. It's tough, but it's very much possible. You make your infinite creature tokens with Dualcaster Mage plus Saw and Half, and then, like I said, you just go to your next turn. There's other computations, other things to do. You just have to be willing to be creative. So that's the biggest hurdle for doing Necropotence in this deck, because we don't run Valley Floodcaller, because the creatures combos we do just don't work with Valley Floodcaller. So we don't run Breach Thassa's. We run Breach. We do Thassa's Dragon lines. So, and Dualcaster Mage lines. Yeah. That's my recommendation for Necropotence 2S. Okay. Moving on. Final thing for this section. We have finishers and non-immediate finishers, similar to our Cyan deck tech. We have here our finishers. Like we broke down earlier, is Final Fortune with infinite creature tokens with Dualcaster Mage and Saw and Half. If you run Miram, you also can do infinite creature tokens with Miram with Final Fortune as well. Okay. You also have, whether it be infinite Moraine copies with Miram or infinite Bladewing copies with the Bladewing Miram Terror of the Peaks combo. You also have Orcish Bowmasters that goes with either Moraine Morite plus Galazeth, or with Dualcaster Mage and Saw and Half for infinite pings. And you also have Thassa's Oracle that goes with everything. Just it's Thassa's. Decon, Tainted, Moraine, drawing your deck, Hoarding Brute Lord, tutoring your deck, infinite copies with Dualcaster Mage. It's Thassa's. It just gets the job done. Yes, I am a party pooper. I will just pull regular Thassa's combos in this dragon deck because I want to win. I'm not personally pressed over feeling like I must do it the dragon way. I'm playing to win, not playing to play dragons. Many people ask me, they're like, man, you must love Wooburg dragons. And I'm like, nah, I just like to win. And these cards are fucking busted, dude, if you know how to use them. With that being said, those are our immediate and non-immediate finishers. As we all know, Dualcaster Mage plus Saw and Half makes non-hasty creatures. So you can do this at instant speed on the end step, but there are times, like I brought up with Necropotence, where you want to make the infinite creatures while you have the cards, then just hold up interaction to help to get to your next turn, and then win with the infinite creature tokens. Not my favorite thing to do, but it's just another option we have in this Tiamat brew. Only possible because of the inclusion of Dualcaster Mage over Bladewing the Risen. All right. Our next section, we will be touching on the big kahuna. But before we get in there, I want to talk on combo lines. The very fast last thing before we talk about the dreaded ETB Dilemma. If you're looking for this, you're just going to go to my primer. You're going to go to the combo lines. Starting off with Dragonstorm Pilots. Dragonstorm is just another copy of Hoarding Brute Lord. So if you have a Dragonstorm out with no Storm, you just need to do 2 colors or 2 untapped creatures. You either go into or Invoke Calamity for Dualcaster Mage, or you just go for Dracogenesis. Super simple. Next, Dragonstorm or 1 Storm, I go Dragonlord Jamoka plus Hoarding Brute Lord, plus 1 other creature or 1 extra mana, and you just do the same thing, Dracogenesis or Invoke Calamity with Dualcaster Mage. You'll see a trend. All right. Next is Dragonstorm with 2 extra Storm, and this counts for any extra Storm you have, where I like to go Dragonlord Jamoka, Hoarding Brute Lord, plus Morite if I want another copy of Hoarding Brute Lord. All right. Or I go Moraine if I want to bounce a non-land permanent for removal. And say if I'm trying to win through Dranith, this is where Moraine River Reach goes in. Then I can just convoke cast Saw and Half plus Burnt Offering into Dracogenesis or into Shallow Grave for the Invoke Calamity plus Dualcaster Mage combo. Big note that I already have written down is notably each of these can bypass the need to cast Tiamat post casting Dragonstorm using Invoke Calamity plus Dualcaster Mage combo line listed above. But the additional removal provided by Moraine River Regent is what allows you to win through stacks effects like Drannith Magistrate, only casting, i.e. making you only can cast things from hand, and an heuristic study, as in you're drawing your opponents into interaction while you're storming off with your dragons. So getting down that Dragon Lord Jamoka each time is a really, really huge thing for me if I can get anything above just the original copy. Our next combo is one we've already talked about already, our new evolved instant speed Hoarding Brute Lord line, which is just using the Dualcaster Mage line that was built off of the traditional Dualcaster Mage variant, where you need an instant speed reanimation effect in your hand or your graveyard for the Invoke Calamity. But most times I'm going to recommend you all just check this out. If you saw the Scion primer, this is what I'm referring to when I say I go in depth with my primers to make sure you all have all the information and all of the bonus lines to be your best Tiamat pilots possible. And last but not least, we do have the traditional Thassa's Oracle variant for the instant sorcery Entomb effect in your hand and your graveyard required. Just for the love of it, I'm going to tag once again the previous deck text where I've already touched on this, but basically you just need an Entomb effect, instant sorcery based Entomb effect in hand. It could be Lively Dirge, it could be Dina's Guidance or Entomb, and that will allow you to go Entomb plus Shallow Grave, bring back Hoarding Brute Lord, go into Saw in Half, Burnt Offering plus Invoke Calamity. Then you're going to Invoke Calamity, recasting the Entomb effect to put Thassa's your graveyard, as well as using the other Invoke Calamity to cast Saw in Half again, making another two copies of your Hoarding Brute Lord. Go get your Tainted Pack or Demonic Consultation, and then go get your Shallow Grave or Necromancy, if depending on which one you haven't used. Necromancy cast to grab back the Thassa's Oracle, and then you're going to go ahead and cast the Demonic Consultation or Tainted Pact on the stack. That is the shorts of it. There's specifics about the mana requirements and the mana other necessary things, as well as a breakdown of other shenanigans of notes to keep in mind as you're executing these combos in the primer for the link I've tagged here. We've also already talked about the Dream Halls line that can work in your list with Nadar or Galazeth Prismari, but unfortunately does not work with Terror of the Peaks. So unless you have an extra green, white, blue, or black dragon, you're unable to do this combo. But if you do, you got it. But you also do need Invoke Calamity, and if you're running Bladewing, you can just do the old school Bladewing line. Next, we have outdated combos. I'm not going to go through these guys. But with that being said, we do have notable inclusions and exclusions that I'll be getting on later, but just for now, we'll hold off on that for just a little bit because I want to make sure I could check the chat to answer any questions that come up for this amazing Tiamat brew. Let's see. No new questions, which is good. It's good. It means that everything is making sense. Thumbs ups. Good thumbs ups. Okay, cool. Everything is making sense. Meaning that what we are looking for now is we have to talk about the dreaded ETB Dilemma. All right. Now, this is our deck's Achilles heel and our deck's hidden strength. All right. Torpor Orb effects against Tiamat. I'm just going to go ahead and read this section. Basically, my weakness becomes my strength. All right. Unlike how many 5-color decks are built as Thassa's Oracle Underworld Breach good stuff piles, the high synergy dragon list is completely reliant on creature ETBs to actually close games. Thassa's, Dualcaster, Moraine, Hoarding Brute Lord, OBM, all of it. All right. This means Torpor Orb effects or effects that shut off creature ETBs like Tokali Honor Guard, Hushwing Griff, Hushbringer, Doorkeeper Thrall, and Elish Norn, Mother of Machines, which has the most meta popular of all these, do not simply slow down the deck. They fundamentally shut off the deck's ability to win via combo. However, after a lot of reflection, it was found that this deck does not necessarily need to immediately remove Torpor Orb effects because we can use the big 6, all right, in our list, i.e. Tiamat, Hoarding Brute Lord, Dragonlord Jamoka, Moraine River Regent, Mariah the Frost if we can copy another large or non-legendary creature we control, and our Orc army from our Orcish Bowmasters in order to apply pressure. And this is also why we also added in now the big 7, or we can call it the Serious 7, and we added in She-Hulk as well as another 6/6 creature as beat sticks against our stack opponents, all right, lockout games. meaning that instead of needing a deck redesign, we can maintain the deck's current identity by simply adopting a playstyle shift from combo focus to combat focus. Thus, my weakness becomes my strength. All right, so this is not something I want to skip over quickly. This is not something I'm just saying, hey, it's not a big deal, get over it. This is a big problem. And I put this in the primer because I don't like the Brewers' advantage to be so big that people don't know about this weakness. But I want them to also know there is going to be an answer to this. And it's not a deck redesign. It's literally saying, hey, how about I just cast my commander and hit you 3 times? Well, I got a pretty good control suite. I can stop you from removing my commander. And once I remove you from the game, I just win an instant speed on top of the stack. That's an idea. How about I flip my She-Hulk or hit you with my Orc Army? I can't get the original ETB, but every time someone draws, I ping you in the face and I just take care of the game like that. These are all options that you get when you decide to open your mind, similar to how we got to Dualcaster Mage, Dream Halls, and Galazeth Prismari, to be able to navigate those Torpor Orb effects. And the weakness of having high CMC cards has now become our strength. We have Smo saying the question, how do you know if your deck with such large bombs like Tiamat could still use Nas? Currently, my list is on Nas and it works very, very well, but I found that the Peer into the Abyss displays an immediate win, and ramping to 7 is never an issue. For me, if we go back to our Cyan deck tech, I've experienced that the 2/8 drops is not a big deal. In Tiamat though, in this list, if we look at our curve, we are on a 9 drop, 2/8 drops, a 7 drop, double 6 drop, 5 drops before we even get to our 3/4 drops. The high end of this deck is extremely high. So though there will be games where you can convert with ad nauseum and it's a powerful card, it is not consistent enough for my risk tolerance to include it in my Tiamat list. As for Peer into the Abyss, I personally would say the similar thing that I said when the Cyan Discord about Prismari and Corvold. You can just go Burnt Offering into Peer into the Abyss. But when we talk about trying to close the number of spells we cast, especially in a Ristic slot meta, fish, all the other things, I want to make sure I'm casting as few spells as possible before I get to my silence effect. So for me personally, for my brewing, I would recommend sticking with just going into Dracogenesis. And so the question I had to ask myself when I was looking at Peer into the Abyss is, why? Why? I had to ask that big question for myself because that was ultimately really, really huge when it came to asking myself whether I want to run Peer in the Abyss or not. Once again, similar to Prismari and Corvold on my Cyan list, it wasn't a question over whether it was powerful or not. We know Peer into the Abyss is powerful. The question moved to, is it necessary? And for my Tiamat list, when we already have the Invoke Calamity, the Hoarding Brute Lord into Invoke Calamity line, the Hoarding Brute Lord into Dracogenesis line, it didn't feel as much necessary, especially last part, where if I'm ramping up to 7 mana, then I'm more than likely can already push out a Necropotence line, a Dream Halls line, maybe even a Dracogenesis or a Hard Cast a Dragonstorm line, which I actually do pretty often as well. More of the turn 2 to 4 range than 1 to 3 range, but those are options as well. So those are my personal reasons for excluding it, but I definitely won't knock it in your list or anybody's list because objectively speaking, drawing half your deck is good. It just may be more have the weaknesses of Misdirection, Deflecting Swat, Orcish Bowmasters, Ristic Study, Mystic Remora, Smothering Tithe, and other effects that are very commonly seen in the cEDH and TDH meta. We've talked about the weakness, about the ultimate weakness of the ETB Dilemma, and we've talked about the solution. Now let's shred through these deck overviews because we know what we do here. We win games. All right. We've talked about the Big 6, now Big 7 with Jennifer Walters. And we also have notable mentions for haste enablers for our creature beats, for notably being our Final Fortune to give them haste, as well as Shallow Grave, giving them creatures haste when we reanimate them. Could be really clutch in really tight situations. Moving on to our tutor package. We have the Forbidden Tutor of Demonic Consultation I'll quickly talk on. This is not a tutor that I'll go to the primer real quick because I talk about this as a notable inclusion. One of the fastest and most mana efficient win condition enablers available in the deck. Notably, it earns a slot primarily through its ability to pair with Thassa's Oracle for a single black mana. This especially is valuable during Necropotent's turns and other resource-constrained situations, allowing the deck to convert winning positions with significantly less mana than alternatives like Tainted Pact. Additionally, Consultation can function as an emergency tutor in games where finding a specific card immediately is worth the risk. However, because Tiamat is a high synergy deck with multiple interconnected combo pieces, Consultation is best viewed as an Oracle enabler first and tutor second. Randomly exiling cards can remove critical one of combo pieces, making it far riskier here than dedicated Oracle breach decks. Despite those risks, the combination of speed, efficiency, and low resource win potential makes Demonic Consultation a powerful inclusion that complements the deck's more elaborate combo lines. Okay, so ultimately, it sucks when you have a high synergy base deck, but it's worth it because of the benefits, and we're going to keep playtesting it until we have a reason to cut it. Other than that, we've talked about all these other tutors. We talked about this one a lot. Talked about Summoner's Pact in our Scion deck tech, but just to hit it again, our notable Summoner's Pact tutor targets are Tinderwall and Elvish Spirit Guide for ramp, Morite for a clone, as well as a Force of Will and Misdirection Pitch, and Dragonlord Jamoka for hardcast uncounterable 6 mana silence effect, which we actually do have multiple gameplays of doing that exact thing. Check out the Thunder Legion Patreon if you want to see that gameplay and post-game podcast. We also have Lively Dirge is a really huge one. I brought up the value of it, but notably we have 8 of our best Lively Dirge targets being Esper Sentinel, Hexing Squelcher, Jennifer Walters, Lotho Corrupt Sheriff, Orcish Bowmasters, my favorite Treasonous Ogre, Thassa's Oracle, and my new mid to late game favorite, Galazeth Prismari. Prisgotli, I mean. We also got the Gamble, we've already talked about, Witchclaw Talisman. Love being able to use Enlightened Tutor to get at any tutor. Really, really powerful. Hoarding Brute Lord, Tainted Pact, Vampire Tutor. Pretty standard tutor package. We also do notably have our card draw package. A little bit light, but we have the impactful ones, Esper, Fish, Rhystic, and Necropotence. We also have a couple cantrip effects right here in Manamorphose and Border Upon the Wind and Veil of Summer. And we can sometimes get some value off Ragavan, so I love including it in this package. Not to mention, we also do have Moraine River Regent, not just as a discard effect, but also a way to say, hey, we hardcast Tiamat, we need to hold up some extra potential card draw and a way to discard our Hoarding Brute Lord at instant speed. Draw 3, discard 1, put Moraine back in our deck. It's pretty fucking good. And like as we already talked about, we have Moraine as a discard effect and Necropotence being able to overfill our hand to go to clean up for the discard effect. All right. Now, as we transition into our ramp, it is very, very standard then to a good stuff pile. And there's be some cards in here that actually look a little interesting. You're saying like, hey, Dracogenesis, Dragonstorm, how are these ramp? Well, they fit more under our mana cheaters category, which because we have such high CMC spells here, we leverage mana cheaters to bridge the gap that we usually experience because having high CMC spells. So Show and Tell, Dream Halls, Dragonstorm, and Dracogenesis all help us cheat the mana cost of our large dragons, whether it be just putting them on board with Show and Tell or Dragonstorm, or cheating the mana cost with Dream Hall or Dracogenesis. Other notable things is got the offer to counter our own spells, birds, Cabal, all the other things. Love Deathrite. We have Galazeth Prismari. The one treasure is not a lot, but being able to leverage our treasures over and over is really powerful. We got the Gemstones, Lotho, Lotus, Manamorphose, Mana Vault. Already talked about Show and Tell. Rain and Filth, once again. I love this spell. It's just more redundancy on Dark Ritual, and because of my play style, it's within my risk tolerance to just go for it when I'm going for it, especially if I'm at instant speed and or with silence protection. Noxious Revival to grab those lands back. Love Ragavan as a 2-mana rock and a 1-mana dork. Being able to dash it out and grab a treasure is great, especially post Nas, but we're not on Nas in this deck. That's more of a Scion tech, but I digress. Got the Mox Diamond, Simian Spirit Guide, Smothering Tithe, Soul Ring, Summoner's Pact, Tinderwall, and Treasonous Ogre. Speaking on Treasonous and Smothering Tithe, we have our big mana generators, being Burnt Offering, Lotho Corrupt Sheriff, Reign of Filth, Smothering Tithe, and Treasonous Ogre, able to either create large amounts of mana quickly, like Treasonous, Reign, and Burnt Offering, but also create large amounts of mana over time, like Lotho and Tithe. So these are our big mana generators. As you can see, we have more in this deck, as well as more mana cheaters in this deck in comparison to our Scion list. Because we just have more high CMC spells, we need to be able to support those high CMC spells with high CMC big mana generators. Now, transitioning to our removal and interaction package. We have 13 pieces of on-stack interaction when I count Dualcaster Mage. Because of spells like Treasonous Ogre, using Dualcaster Mage's interaction is very, very, very much realistic. But we also have a lot of graveyard hate as well, with the Necromancy, Deathrite Shaman, and Noxious Revival. Bring up with the Necromancy point. Big one is you crack your Ranger, I Necromancy, bring it back, I crack the Ranger again, and boom, I get my Silence Protection for my instant speed win. Notably, I did bring this up earlier, but I am running Sink in the Stupor over Otawara right now because of the Galazeth synergy, as well as the blue card count increase, as well as the ability to just go like, hey, I just want to be able to interact with Hexing Squelcher at times and be able to interact on the stack and the board. So though I still think Otawara could be argued to, and probably is the objectively better choice, we're brewing, we're pushing the limits. So I'm playtesting Sing in the Stupor for those reasons. On this list, we are on Power Blast and Red Blast, Treasonous Ogre, Burnt Offering. We make a lot of red mana, as well as Redirect Lightning over Deflecting Swat. We're on the Misdirection. Questionable interaction piece at times, but many times it just gets the job done, especially when it comes to protecting our own wins. I will bring up though that between these two, if you have to choose, as long as you have the life, always go Redirect Lightning. Being able to hit abilities is much more powerful than just hitting spells with Misdirection. And we have the spot removal for Meringue. It's expensive, but there is the political opportunity of using Show and Tell to say, hey, I can get rid of these players 2 pieces, but I need the other 2 players who I'm politicking with to not put anything on the board. I'm going to put Meringue River Region on the board, and the other player may not have anything in hand, but I want to get rid of, for example, their double Ristic. So we can stop that. If y'all can help me protect this spell, I can get rid of their double Ristic, and it will at least get a little time to play the game. And so that's some political things you could do with that. When it comes to blue card count, I count that we are technically at 20 pieces, one above my recommended, but it's only because I count Summoner's Pact as the extra blue card to be able to get Morite of the Frost. I do like that little bit of extra blue card count, just the flexibility there, but like I said, the reason once again that we're not on a disrupting show on this list, because if you see that blue curve, we got a 6-drop, 5-drop, 5-drop, 5-drop. Curve is pretty high, even though we got some low stuff. It's not as low as I may want to consistently have Disrupting Show be online, like it may be online in our Sign of the Ur-Dragon list. Next is our Stacks and Tack package. Similar to Sign of the Ur-Dragon, we count spells that usually just may be seen as value pieces as stacks pieces, because Voice and Jennifer Walters says you can't do something similar to stacks pieces. Esper, Fish, and Ristic and Smothering Tithe tax you, as well as Lotho. In a heavy mana outlet based deck, sometimes people don't want to give you a Lotho trigger, and if I'm preventing you from double spelling, I'm staxing you, as well as Hexing Squelcher ability to protect me, but also telling my opponents you can't counter my spells. And of course, we all know about Orcish Bowmasters being able to say, hey, as you draw cards with Ristic, Fish, and Esper, I will be massacring your life and your board state. Next, we do have our mid-range punishers, our light mid-range punishers, and notably our mid-range punisher enhancer in Fish, Ristic, Obium, and Smothering Tithe, and our light mid-range punishers as Esper and Lotho. And to enhance our Lotho and our Smothering Tithe, we have Galazeth Prismari being able to progress it down and use our treasures multiple turns in a row. Notably, I just seen this one being used as our setup turn, interact with the table, and whether it's a Final Fortune or just in tapping just as natural, I love to go Galazeth Prismari right after that for the win. Last, we have here boards, player and spell protection and recovery, very similar to removal and interaction, but we do have our recursion package being Invoke Calamity, Lively Dirge, Necromancy, Noxious Revival, Reanimate, and Shallow Grave, all right? And we also have recursion We've talked about each of these pieces in depth already, but let's just keep going. We do have our silence effect package. I usually like to run 5, but technically I'm on 6 because of, once again, Summoner's Pact being an awesome spell. Without having those mana constrictions of ad nauseum, we're able to lean on Morite and Dragonlord Jamoka as spells that we can find off Summoner's Pact. And we actually do cast Summoner's Pact for Dragonlord Jamoka for wins in multiple games. We also have our light silence effects that protect us, especially at instant speed, but especially through those Vexing Bobble and other type of Lavinia type effects that could stop us from doing combos with Hoarding Brute or Dracogenesis. Last up, we have our land base. Nothing notable to say here other than the Gemstone Mines and Sink into Stupor, which we talked about before. Gemstone Mines, we really need to be able to flow through our colors in the early game. Turn 1 could be a black mana, turn 2 could be a blue mana, turn 3 could be a white mana. So being able to flow from those manas is really important, and is the reason we're actually not running City of Traders in this list, because we're cheating mana on spells, not hard casting them. Sink into Stupor, brought it up. Blue spell counts. It's a really like a, you could say pet card, but it's more of me just pushing the limits, seeing in application and in practice if this is something that can be more viable than Otawara in my metas that I play in. And last is Tarnished Citadel. Despite being on Treasonous Ogre and Necropotence, the Wooburg ability of this land is awesome, and I love that I also can just tap for colorless, so I don't have to use a life if not needed. So I love this land. If you're not running it because you're afraid of using your life total is a resource. Don't be afraid, even if you're on Necro and Ad Nauseam, to run this land to help with color fixing. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you can get a turn 2 Nas out if your colors aren't right to actually cast it. And last but not least, we've already talked about our instant speed enablers, extra turn effects, and instant speed reanimator effects. But last, we have our clone and copy effects. That should be 2, but it's actually 3, because once again, Summoner's Pact. Everything from Morite copying our Smothering Tithe to our Ristic Study, Fish, Esper, OBM, all the works, as well as our Sarn have being able to copy those effects as well for value as well. At Small asks, if I didn't want to build Tiamat as a Reanimator package, could a food chain package still be CDH viable? Yes. I want you to check out, I'll actually pull it up very quick for you. You want to go to YouTube, and then you want to go to my channel, Thunder Conductor. So once you go to my channel, I want you to go to It'll Shock You Too. That's the undefeated Tiamat deck from the Shocked Top Deck 2025. It's with the pod variant of the list, and they actually use Food Chain as one of their win conditions. Food Chain is 100% viable, but I personally don't use it because of its negative synergy with trying to push through Ristic Study, which I don't really love. I like to be able to respond to the cast of Ristic Study or wait till the Ristic player gets out of gas of interaction to my liking and then pushing after that. But definitely really great stuff here with the deck tech with Caleb. That is all of our notable mentions and stuff. And I just had to say to you all, if you have been loving this deck tech thus far and you say, T, thank you for shouting out the Thunder Legion. Thank you for the extra level up logs and extra level up gameplay. Thank you for shouting out the Thunder Conductor community on Discord for the group discussions. But I just want some one-on-one time with you. Help me learn these Tiamat lines. Help me learn how to politic. Help me learn Necropotence. Help me learn everything I need to be the next level CDH player and TDH player that I know I can be. Go ahead and check the link out in the bio and sign up for my one-on-one level up sessions to get all those abilities and all those experiences and much more. I also do gameplay sessions where I will sit with you in the pod, record the game, and also take the time to help you level up your gameplay in that way as well. So if you want those one-on-one level up sessions, check out the link in the bio and you can get that one-on-one level up session with me. But let's get back to the show. To finish strong, last thing we have is why Tiamat? I put that in my notes because I was uncertain if people, after learning about Scion and everything that Scion could do, I didn't know if they would still want to play Tiamat. But if this stream has shown anything from my passion or anything, if you are looking for a reason to play Tiamat, all right, if you want a deck that's more fulfilling, if you want to have some games that you do win, not just of low-level Brewers Advantage, but straight-up Brewers Advantage because the lines are so complex and interdiverging that you straight up just cannot be dealt with even by your own meta, your local meta, who know what you're doing. And if you want different gameplay experiences, each of your games, remember, it's all about the journey, not the destination. Play Tiamat. But with that being said, let's get into playtest hands, all right? Notably, this deck mulligans a little bit more toughly than our Sign deck, all right? But the mulligan anchors stay the same as we brought up before, all right? So let's do some playtest hands. Do a first one where we have a Sisay, Yuriko, we're on Tiamat, and we have an Arkham Daxon. Now, notably, I've had a lot more experience against Arkham Daxon. We are a tad bit weak against them because our removal package is a little bit lower. But in this deck versus Scion, we do have both Red Blast that can help against Arkham. So with that being said, in this pod, what's going through my mind is we got 2 pod decks in Sisay and Arkham. So spot removal is going to be key, but even more, if we can win quickly, it doesn't matter. The only fork in that journey is Yuriko, a control deck. So depending on what the variant of Sisay we're dealing with, and how much interaction Arkham deals with, we may be trying to do, my preferred would be Necropotence here. Turn 1 to 2 Necropotence into a push. Pretty sure we can make it through this pod if that's the case. But another option could just be early show and tell. None of these decks really bother me with show and tell other than Arkham having a large artifact stacks piece in hand, which they usually don't mulligan for, and we can win with show and tell turn 1 to turn 2. Same with Treasonous Ogre into Dracogenesis Dragonstorm. That's if I'm trying to get out of the game quickly. If I'm trying to thug it out, Necropotence is a great piece to use against these Arkham Daxum Sisay lists because they may not trigger your Heuristic Study or Fish a lot. Say with Yuriko, they're going to kind of break parity to your draw engines because they just put stuff into the battlefield. So though Heuristic Study would be great, I would need them to play in my type of game in order to make it happen. With that said, let's check out the first 7. This is a no-go. We got a ramp, got lands, got an interaction, but no way to win. We got to keep pushing. Second 7 is fine. I actually love this hand. What I see from this hand is a turn 1 Esper Sentinel, a turn 2 Mystic Remora with a hold up Mystical Tutor, and draw enough cards to discard Hoarding Brute on the end step of our turn 3 after either paying for fish or letting fish go, and we'll Mystical Tutor for a Shallow Grave or a Reanimate to our Shallow Grave to be able to win at instant speed with Dualcaster Mage. So I would keep this second 7, go Command Tower Esper, then go Scolding Tarn on turn 2. UC or Tundra, either one. Probably UC because our color fixing is definitely more blue-black. And then just let the game lead us. We may have to use Mystical Tutor for interaction, but we also could just use Mystical Tutor to win with Hoarding Brute Lord, and the double draw engines will give us enough cards to naturally discard Hoarding Brute Lord and then hope to win at instant speed. Let's just see our 1 draw for turn. Power Blast, we love it. Against some Arkham Daxum deck, against a Yuriko, this is awesome. We're hoping, notably as I process more out loud, that Yuriko can keep these other decks in check. But top decking the Power Blast means we have a turn 2 protected fish, and we could just stick on the Esper if we draw enough cards off of it. So I'll do the whole D4 roll on it. It says a 3, so only 2 draws. Draw. Tithe and Deathrite. Damn, that's pretty fucking good. Yeah, we don't even need to discard Hoarding Brute Lord if we want to. We could progress the Tithe, depending on the number of draw engines, but it could just be bringing extra attention to us. We could just keep it simple, but we got options now. So this will be a very, very interesting game. My biggest hope is that the Power Blast will be enough for Arkham. I may not want to develop the Tithe because I don't want Sisay to clone it, depending on their variant of deck. If they are slop deck or have any type of enchantment clones, I could just be giving them the game. So I may want to be patient, but it just depends on the politics of this game. We got Smo saying, Smo, why Tiamat? Got to be the stupidest question of all time. Why not Tiamat? That is a real question. I agree. And that's why I started with Sign. I'm setting the bar really high, and I'm like, this is what Sign can do, guys. Now, this is what Tiamat can do if you take the time to master the deck. And my win rate's doing nothing but going up the more I push the list. Small says, don't build Roxai. Build Grixis Tiamat. Don't build Timna Dargo. Build Mardu Tiamat. Hey, you funny, bro. You funny as hell. And we got Atali, lame. Cruelty. Hey, you joking, but that's funny as hell. Oh, okay. Let's do another mulligan, man. Let's do another mulligan. All right, fresh new pod. All right, we got a seat 1 Rao. Terrifying. Speed-wise, they're ahead of us. Seat 1. Seat 2, we're on Tiamat. Pretty good stuff. If we can stop them on turn 1 to 2, then we're pretty confident to be able to get there win right after. We do also have a Thrasios Tymna. We have one dedicated mid-range deck, and then we got us, and we have a Keurig. This is a nasty pod. We got to win fast. That's my thought. First thought. That or a turn 1 fish with extra mana open to be able to red blast or power blast Ral when it flips. Let's see. All right, so we got land, Imperial Seal. We got a Flood Maw. This is interesting. It's not enough mana to my liking. If we Imperial Seal turn 1, Ral just wins on turn 2. If we have no mana for the red blast, we can Flood Maw and try to time walk the Ral, but there's also a Keurig in seat 4. We can politic with player 3, but then it's like our politicking would be to time walk ourselves. So no, I'm going to throw this away. This is close. Land Lotus Simeon could have been a turn 1 Necropotence if we had like something like a Manamorphose. Dramoka is basically a dead card in the opening hand, so this is a mulligan 6 already, even though it's a 7. Wishclaw Talisman, do not want to give it away to anybody. Not even if though we can play and crack it on turn 1. The only thing I'd say here is just like, if I was in a tournament and I really just wanted to draw, I could turn 1 Witchclaw, give it to Tymna, let them Witchclaw, and then we just fucking draw it up. And we just fucking play for a draw. We're playing to win. So I'm going to mulligan past this. And even though I love the OBM, I do love the OBM, I will say, hold on, I do love Orcish Bowmasters, Badlands, Simian Spirit Guide, get out turn 1 OBM. And with the Lotus Petal, we can get out of turn 2 Necropotence into a turn. Actually, wait, against the Ral, this is actually pretty good. And a Keurig. Turn 1 OBM, turn 2 Lotus. All we need to do is draw a land in our first 2 turns that can make a black, and we can get out turn 2 Necropotence and then turn the corner and win on turn 3. I'd actually keep this hand for this pod. I would just need some support from Tymna Thras, loose politics, not committing to any game actions, but kind of saying, hey, I can slow things down a little bit. Can you support me? Da-da-da, blah, blah, blah. Being able to stop things with a nice ping is nice. So I just got to take my time. Our draw for turn would be a Lotho. Shit. Actually, this turned into play crack Lotho. Get 1 treasure OBM turn 1. Hope to get in. Yeah, the Lotho treasures, we don't need to play a Necropotence on turn 2. We just sit, grab treasures, play and push Necropotence on turn 3. The slow Necropotence play that I didn't get to talk about earlier. Yeah. Option. We're definitely going to get triggers from Keurig and Ral. And the OBM is the hope that we can slow the table down with that. OBM by as they wheel and deal things, we can hopefully kill their Ral. Keurig is going to be a little bit tough, but maybe we can politic with player 3 to have them get a counterspell or 2 to be able to blow the Keurig player out. And then we can hopefully turn the corner right after that with a Necropotence on turn 3 with enough Lotho treasures. If we can get 3 or 4 of those and another land drop, we can play Necropotence with 2 to 3 treasures still left, if not 2 with the extra trigger waiting for us. We do the big pool and we just see what happens. We could play test this one, but I'm going to allow that for one-on-one level up sessions if you all would like to see this. We also do have a level up log touching on converting Necropotence and how I do Necropotence, but we'll save that for one-on-one level up sessions. If you all are interested, check out the link at the bio for one-on-one level up sessions with TTC. We'll do one more playtest hand because that was a pretty cool one. We ended up finding some that I think can work for us if we can make something happen. New pod one more time. Oh shit, these black turbo decks. Damn. All right. Gwendom seat 1. We are seat 2 this time. Pretty good. I like seat 2. We have Rog Thrasios. So we have Cradle Farm. We have Wandering Minstrel. Most likely it's either Turbo Good Stuff, Secret Commander Lumra, or Full Landfall. Yeah. That's just it. So we have 2 3 turbo decks if we count us. Rock Thrash, we need to win quickly, but Gwynam for sure is coming down turn 2. Luckily, though, I will say I don't usually fear Bolas Citadels the first turn that come down. It's the second turn. So I could gamble and say I'll let Gwynam just go free and not worry about them. Let Rock Thrash handle who they want to handle, but me being seat 2, let seat 3 and seat 4, if they have any interaction, stop player 1. And if they don't, I'm okay losing to player 1 because I think if I can find a hand that's crazy enough that can convert on turn 2, I'm good. We also find some turn 1 hands as well. But let's see. First 7. We found the show and tell, but no outlet. I was hoping to get something like this. Show and tell, but no outlet. So we got to see a second 7. Turn 2 Tithe, but nothing to do with it. We do have a Flood Maw, and Flood Maw can be disruptive against Gwynam. Okay. This is a second 7, right? I think it's a second 7, right? Yeah. So, Command Tower, hold up Flood Maw, bounce the Gwynam. Seat 2, get out of turn 2, Smothering Tithe, and that's it. We've slowed down the table just enough, and we have a Metamorphose and Reanimate left in hand. Reanimate can go along with Meringue if we hardcast Tiamat. Go get Meringue and Hoarding Brute. Then we could do a combo, so we can win as soon as turn 3 to 4-ish. How do I feel about that in this pod? On a 7 in a deck against Rock Thrash, who's going to be doing stuff, I feel fine about that. Wandering Minstrel is a little bit unknown. Feels like a turn 2 to 4 deck, but we just have to see. If I'm playing against my homeboy Detro's Wandering Minstrel list, I'd have to throw this hand away because it's such a consistent list. Unless I use the Flood Maw against Wandering Minstrel and like hold up, say, hey, I don't want to get rid of your Wandering Minstrel, but da da da. But if they play a turn 1 Wandering Minstrel, then I'm just going to think they're holding up Fierce or SWAT, so I can hold on to the Flood Maw a little bit. But yeah, I said I'd be willing to lose against Gwynam. This hand disrupts Gwynam or Wandering Minstrel because I can get rid of Wandering Minstrel's land untapper. And Thrash, Rog, let them do what the fuck they want to do. This is not an amazing hand. I'd keep it, but at the same time, it's slow. It's very slow. Let's do this. Say we kept it. We saw our draw for turn. Cool. It's fine. Let's see what happens if we were to go down to a 6. And let's mulligan a little bit deeper and just kind of pressure test. 6 is 1, 2, 3 mana by turn 1. And Treasonous Ogre, we don't have an outlet for other than Dualcaster Mage. The Dena's Guidance isn't really doing anything else because we can't use Summoner's Pact to cast it. And we really have a 5 because of the Gemstone Caverns. Let's check out what a 5 can do for us. Okay, yeah, this is a keep. Land, hold up a Vampiric Tutor, go get Reanimate. Go Dark Ritual and Tomb Reanimate, win the game. These 5 lands here, bottom Mystery Rainforest, bottom White the Frost. We also could do Necropotence, but with the turn 2 win, yeah, just turn 2 win. There you go, boom. Yeah, that's it. Check the chat though, we got some questions for our guy Smole. For the deck, are Torpor Orb effects more problematic or Oppo or Aven Mind Sensor? For me, I can win through a Oppo or Aven Mind Sensor by just drawing cards. Necropotence, Esper, Rhystic, Fish. I can do that. Get my dragons hit, it's inconvenient, but I can win through that, you know? Torpor Orb effects forces me to stop being a combo deck and makes me play creature beats. Possible, just lower viability, less explosive. And though we don't see a lot of them in the meta, you're more likely to see an Oppo agent than a Torpor Orb. The only caveat is like decks that want to double their own ETBs with the notable, what's my guy called? The Mom, the Mother of Machines. Elish Norn, Mother of Machines, doubles your own ETBs and cuts off your opponent's ETBs. So effects like Derevi that want to play this or Semi-Blue, then you're fucked. He shuts off the deck completely. Good mulligan down to 5. We found that. We see our 1 draw for turn. If we can get a free piece of interaction, that'd be great. Oh shit! There's the Entomb effect. So we Vampiric Tutor for if Morite's to the bottom and Misty Rainforest to the bottom, This is interesting because Shallow Grave is not enough mana. We don't have enough to combo off with Shallow Grave. We would probably still go get Vampiric. All right, we can either get a Reanimate, or we can go get like a Soaring to go dark for 5 mana. We'd have enough to combo off with Entomb, Shallow Grave, and instant speed. Yeah, that's what we do. Vampiric for Soul Ring, hold up Entomb, Shallow Grave, win at instant speed. That's it. Yep, Vamp for Soul Ring, Dark Ritual, Entomb, Shallow Grave, instant speed win. Boom. We also have Smothering, or maybe even Graveyard Hate, like Gravedigger's Cage. Oh, Gravedigger's Cage, we actually don't mind it. It does stop a lot of our combos, but because most of our combos can be at instant speed, and Gravedigger's Cage stops Breach and a lot of our popular strategies, it many times will be removed, and we win on instant speed with our opponent's Breach or whatever not on the stack. If not, we do just win through Gravedigger's Cage, either by going Thassa's Tainted, Thassa's Decon, or we just go Dracogenesis, Tiamat, Moraine plus Morite plus Dracogenesis, GG. And we say it's all creature beats till the torpor effect is actually just humility. If I see humility again in cEDH, they got it, bro. They 1,000,000,000% got it. If you're not familiar, humility, okay? All creatures lose all abilities that have base power and toughness 1/1. This is where spot removal. There is no other option. Singing the Stupor, into the Flip Maul, all the works. Everything got to go to that thing. We are either 1,000,000,000% countering that with a offer, a swan song, or balancing it with stuff like Singing the Stupor. We're balancing it with things like, or killing the player with beats, like already been brought up. But Flood Maul and Singing the Stupor are our best friends in this situation. But yeah, no, like these anti-creature strategies that thankfully we do not see a lot in our meta right now because of how focused people are on winning the game. Stax decks will hurt this deck a lot. Luckily though, I've actually had a lot. My local meta at the LGS is pretty Stax heavy, and this is where Orcish Bowmasters was helpful, but granted humility stops that. But also Culling Ritual. I would recommend slotting back in Culling Ritual in those metas, because Culling Ritual says fuck all that shit. Granted, not humility speaking, but because it's 4 mana. But Culling Ritual really lets you reset the board, kind of like move into some shenanigans with that, and then just turn the corner, especially with creature beats. But Flood Maw and Sync is the best one. And at that point, I probably will run Otawara over Sync for the uncounterability, because if it's Azorius stacks, then they got counter spells to protect their stacks effects. Yeah. So once again, Breach would be better than this. Cyan would be on paper better. But yeah. With all that said, it's still the same situation of, yes, these things suck, but we still love Tiamat. But if you are, like I keep saying, if you are looking for a serious tournament deck, Sign of the Ur-Dragon is there. Tiamat still is viable, but there will be niche situations like this where you'll have to go to creature beats, except, of course, like how Smole correctly brought up, that humility will bite ass. And I'm not sure. I don't think, what's it called? The artifact vehicle commander is running it anymore, but there are decks that really fringe decks or off meta decks that still run humility, and you got to respect it. You got to do what you got to do. With that all being said though, that is our deck tech, boys. Thank you all for being amazing. Thank you all for being great. If you enjoyed it, drop all the love in the chat, bruh, as we get ready to transition off. Truthfully, I just got to just close things out with my full final thoughts of just like, yo, as you all can see from my passion difference, I love Tiamat. Really do. This is straight up my favorite deck that I've ever built. My favorite deck ever. It's a lot of fun. It's rewarding to win with. It's flexible. It's different experiences. It's not the most powerful not the most powerful Wooburg Dragon deck ever. However, the better you become as a player with your prowess, your politics, and your patience, and your perseverance in tournament scenes, it can be a tier 1 deck, at lowest tier 2 deck. But ultimately, there are going to be some metas where you're going to get a little hosed. And those are the games where ultimately, if you up your win percentage to that 60% benchmark, that last little bit of fringe stacks comes in, and it's not even a worry anymore. So don't even stress it too much about it. It's part of the game of Magic the Gathering. Sometimes your opponent's going to get you, but the goal is to make sure most of the times you get them. Smoke says, screw all that science stuff. Tiamat has gotten me through thick and thin. I could never leave her like that. Greatest deck tech in the verse. Man, thank you, Smo. Thank you, Smo, brother. Amazing deck tech. I can't wait to share it with you all on YouTube. Of course, if you join the Thunder Legion, you will see that first. You'll see the deck tech first, and probably weeks in advance before everyone else on YouTube. But before I let everybody out, I gotta say my thank yous first to the amazing chat. Shout out biggest to Smo. I know he's not here with any more, but S was huge too. Really hyping me up, talking about Galazeth, Goat Mari. That was really, really fun. Really build up moment there. I really appreciate and loved that moment, sharing that moment with you all. Truthfully, I was looking forward to this deck tech for months, and this was everything I was desiring and more. So thank you all for making it. Did I say Galazeth? Galazeth, yes, Galazeth. Galazeth Prismari or Goat Mari in order to make that happen. Also big shout outs to, I cannot not say it. Big shout out to the Thunder Conductor Discord community. These guys rock. We are a heavy Brewers community where we move with the values of accountability, curiosity, mutual respect, and teachability, all within the growth mindset. When was the last time you played a deck or showed your deck off in a Discord community and it was shat on before you had the opportunity to really, really hone it into a true meta buster? I've heard too many stories and I'm tired of hearing the stories. So I created a community where you can get these types of decks like Tiamat and Scion off the ground before they can get stumped out by, respectfully, the meta lovers who just want you to play everything that they normalize and they understand. That's not required. There's a safe space where you can brew your deck in our specialist brewers forum, as well as have a dedicated suite of pilots to come and support your brewing process, whether it's poking holes in a flawed strategy or an encouraged a brewing strategy that can lead to something great. But with all that said, we also have a space for you to test those brews with the TC Slayer arena, where people try to take my crown off my head and help take their brews to the next level and win prizes at the end of the month, where it's holding the title the longest with our Iron Man Slayer title, or are winning the King of the Hill title by holding the title at the end of the month. Like I said, these are amazing things that we get to encourage people to jam games, have a fun time, and just have a blast while playing their Meta Buster brews. With that being said, none of that would be possible without the Thunder Legion Patreon community. These guys rock, and they would literally, I cannot say it enough, their contribution is the reason why I'm able to do these streams, do the YouTube, and everything else. That direct contribution is really what makes this amazing. But it's not just them contributing. They also get the perks of weekly level up logs and weekly gameplay with post-game podcasts. So if you want all those perks and more, check out the link in the bio to join the Thunder Legion Patreon community. Direct thank you to our amazing Is It Tier patrons, Prater, MTG Reaper, Blazedkin, Azzy, Darrow, and Jim Fusion. You all rock, and you put the lights on in a way that no one else can even imagine. Thank you all so much. I'm greatly appreciative to your contribution to the TC community and the TC brand. And last but not least, if you say AT, the Discord's great, the Patreon's great, but I just really want some one-on-one time with you. Don't worry, check the link out in the bio to get my one-on-one level up sessions. Whether it's me being right next to you in the game and giving you tips after the game, or you want some brewing and other tech insight. We've had people talk about necropotence, people ask about Tiamat, ask about Scion, whether it's my brew, your brew, someone else's brew. Let's get one-on-one together and help you take your game to the next level. But with all that said, thank you all for being amazing. Thank you all for being amazing and just being great. And I'll see y'all later. Peace.